the full-time mage. The extreme lightning. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 776, Seeking Skeleton, Porn. Thanks for the reward. Hooala. Hooala. Black iron chains sprang out from the black domain, and then one by one, they were tied to the limbs of the seeking skeleton. There were hundreds of dark iron chains. The seeking skeleton, which was still struggling, could hardly move at this time. Melting flame meteorite dragon fist. When the opponent was unable to move, Tangmyo quickly completed the Firestar Palace, the 5th level superclass fire magic. A full 2401 5th level stars. Even the treatment that the fire and thunder systems did not get. Now in terms of explosive power, the fire system with Yanji and the fusion of various origin fires in the body are already incomparable to the thunder system. In this case, of course, the most violent magic is chosen to strengthen. The reason why the stars are strengthened and not kept for emergency use is entirely because the demon beads still have enough energy for 2 demon system transformations. The 5th level superclass fire is emitted, and the dark domain begins to collapse. Originally, in the dark realm, anything that was not black magic would be absolutely suppressed, but the destructive power of this flame was enough to destroy everything. Even the dark power could not stay. However, the dark realm was originally to control the actions of the seeking skeleton, and the real killer was always the last molten flame meteorite fist. Huge rocks as big as mountains, covered with scorching waves of fire, rushed straight towards the seeking skeleton like dragons. When they landed, the dark realm was instantly disintegrated. As for the seawater on the ground, it evaporated into a dry state in an instant. The seeking skeleton within the attack range did not even have time to escape. Bang bang bang. Boom. Boom. When the molten flame dragon landed on the seeking skeleton and its surroundings, the entire shoal began to collapse. A village-like pit slowly emerged at its feet, and the seeking skeleton was constantly bombarded and dropped, and the bones on its body were constantly broken, falling, and turned into ashes. This powerful fire wave was not only harmful here, even though Tangmyo controlled it very skillfully, it still hit the seawall. Fortunately, Tangmyo and the seeking skeleton fought for more than 2 hours, and most of the 3 top level masters and general level mages had recovered. With their joint efforts, a giant shield formed by thousands of people emerged on the seawall. Even Sao Manan and others injected magic energy into it. Just from the nearly hundreds of meters deep pit where the meteorite dragon landed and the ground sank, it was clear how terrifying the power of this attack was. Could they not make an effort? If they didn't make an effort, the seawall would be destroyed after all. There is not only the seeking skeleton here, it rules over many ocean tribes, and this time the seeking dynasty has put all its efforts into it, and there are probably countless sea sirens waiting to join the battle, so the sea wall must not be destroyed no matter what. Once this defense measure is gone, even if the seeking skeleton is defeated, the millions of people in the great demon city behind them will probably not escape the fate of being killed. At this moment, the 3 top level people felt that the scene in front of them completely overturned their understanding of magic. At this moment, the 3 top level people who were proud of their own cultivation may have only one thought in their hearts. No matter how you understand this TM, this thing is simply not like a human. And they also have a new understanding of the power of the seeking skeleton. The reason why the seeking skeleton retreated after being defeated was actually just to lead them to the powerful Emperor slap. Just wait for that slap to come. The defensive shield forged by everyone, coupled with Tangmyo's powerful control, finally blocked the impact after the power of the meteorite dragon ended. At this moment, the military mages on the shore didn't know how to describe Tangmyo's horror. It was simply inhuman. The magic released, except for the insufficient lethality of the wind system, whether it was thunder or fire, was full of the feeling of not recognizing relatives. When the mages got a breather, they found that the seeking skeleton, which was as tall as the Pearl Tower, had disappeared. The commander-in-chief and 3 top rankers also immediately rose to the sky and observed. They were also very curious. After such a heavy bombardment, has the seeking skeleton been killed? Bang. Just as they had just taken off, a bone claw suddenly stretched out from the huge pit and fell on the ground. Oh my god, it's not dead yet. What kind of monster is this? Even the military mages with strong mentality showed a completely desperate expression when they saw the outstretched claws. If there are more than 10 powerful creatures among the sea monsters, can humans really win this war? Many people have begun to doubt it. Even the commander-in-chief here, his originally pale face, became even paler and weaker. Speaking of which, the order issued by the military leader in this battle was to defend and protect the magic city. Of course, the battlefield is not absolute, and he also gave him the right to make the decision. The commander-in-chief wanted to implement the decapitation plan. But if it weren't for Tang Mao, not to mention the loss of many high-level mages, he almost lost 3 top-ranked people. It is conceivable how explosive his mentality is at this moment. Compared with them, Tang Mao didn't move much, because the seeking skeleton just struggled for the last time. Here, not to mention that the same name Divine Bad was arranged by Killin to rest in the vessel. Even if it still has the same name Divine Bird, it can't be cured, because the sea water has been completely blocked out. At this time, Yingxia is already responsible for cleaning up the souls of the seeking skeleton. This is a great nutrient. As for Fei Lion, today he can be regarded as truly witnessing Tang Mao's strength. It really surrendered. Tang Mao himself did not expect that his combat power would be so explosive, but to be honest, his opponents have always been abused at will. Can you fight like the seeking skeleton for several hours? It has never happened before. Even when he was fighting Fei Lion in Xianshan, he did not consume so much energy. Not only did the energy of the Black Dragon magic armor run out, but it was also damaged, and even the Black Snake magic armor was also damaged. The fire magic energy is almost at the bottom, the lightning magic energy is mostly consumed, and the shadow system, that is, the magic system is more, so he does not look tired at all. Otherwise now, let alone staying in the air, it would be difficult to stand on the ground, right? Chapter 777, Living is Real. When the shadow evil absorbed its soul completely, the seeking skeleton suddenly fell apart. Boom boom, the skeleton fell to the bottom of the deep pit, and the huge sound immediately spread throughout the seawall. It was at this time that everyone realized that the seeking skeleton was dead. It was just the last struggle. We won. When the commander-in-chief and several top-level masters rushed forward, he looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. The 3 top-level masters were better. They surpassed the super-level magicians, so their knowledge was naturally broader. Master Tang, thank you for saving me, one of the top-level masters said with a fist. When the 2 people heard this, they immediately recognized Tang Mao. Yes, among the domestic magicians, who can kill an invincible monarch with just the power of the super level, except Tang Mao! Exclamation mark. Not long ago, Tang Mao and Zhu Xiangshan dueled, and he claimed to be the first person under the forbidden spell. At that time, as the strongest person under the forbidden spell, they all thought that this child was a little arrogant. But today, they seem to understand what there is no falsehood under a great reputation means. You recognize me? Tang Mao was stunned. Someone of this level of cultivation knew him? It shouldn't be the case. In front of such a high-ranking person who only looks at cultivation and is high above, a super-class mage like him should not be recognized. Tang's Yuxu city is now one of the top families in the country. How can I not know the head of the Tang family? Tang Mao nodded and then said, you guys take care of the aftermath here. Take its head and hang it on the highest point of the Pearl Tower. I've consumed a lot of energy in this battle, so I won't go. The 3 top-ranking people were all stunned. As the main force, they didn't expect to be the ones to take care of the aftermath. The commander-in-chief said, Brother Tang, thanks to your help this time, otherwise I don't know how many people would be killed and injured today. It's nothing. After all, I came here for it. Tang Mao shook his head and didn't take credit. After all, he was not under the jurisdiction of any force. If you win, you are a hero. If you lose, it means you are incompetent and you deserve to die. The commander-in-chief didn't say anything else. He went to report to his superiors. In the previous battles, countless military mages were killed and injured. Now they finally survived. Tang Mao not only helped the magic city this time, but also revived the charming divine bird. It was all worth it. With the charming divine bird by his side, he had an extra life. Of course, he still had to prepare some fire spirit seeds. Rebirth from the ashes also requires preparation. Fire is not water, but it is not available everywhere. Moreover, after this battle, he could clearly feel that the starseeds of his various systems seemed to be about to break through the barrier. Even the galaxy of the light system began to expand crazily. Then he called back the shadow demon, sat on Feli Lion's head again, and took Emofan and others back to Yuxu City. Seeing a supreme monarch willing to be a mount for Tangmao, many people widened their eyes. They couldn't believe that the existence at the top of the food chain was willing to be a walking beast. But this is true. What Tangmao didn't know was that today's battle was not only witnessed by the military mages here, but also by the people of the whole world. At a certain place on the sea wall here, there was a mage who was not strong, but always liked to live broadcast. His equipment was quite good. He was originally in the 404 stage, but unexpectedly, Tangmao's battle with the Seeking Skeleton gave him a chance to escape, and also gave him a chance to suddenly become popular. At this time, the Magic City, a huge city, was like the moment when the new year arrived, and it exploded with a violent and extremely loud sound. Dead. The Seeking Skeleton is finally dead. It is a ghost, shrouding the sky above the city, making every citizen breathe cautiously, and making countless soldiers choke with soreness when they mention it. Now it was killed cleanly by a person. And it was killed directly and alone. The most important thing is that the skull of the Seeking Skeleton was hung at the top of the Pearl Tower. In such a period of approaching disaster, the government will not consider that such a scene at the highest point of the city will have a bad impact on children. What is needed is such domineering. The crisis in the Magic City has been resolved, but it is still unknown what is happening in Phenio City and Hangzhou. After all, they are neighboring cities. Whether it is Hangzhou or the Magic City, Tangmao cannot ignore it. Tang Yu has the help of the totem Black Snake and the Moon Moth Phoenix. As for Phenio City, there are Little White Tiger and Baksha, but the opponents this time are not all soy sauce. What's more, although the totem restrains the sea monster, their number is not as good as the sea monster. Humans still play a great role during this period. On the way back, Tangmao took out the red and blue bottles of Parthenon and drank several in one breath. After this short time, he still has to go to Parthenon first. The Black Dragon demon armor was damaged, and the Black Snake demon armor was also in tatters. Although it is not impossible to recover if the energy is replenished. But Tangmao has a bold idea, that is to go to the Parthenon and let Asheruaya find someone to rebuild it for him, and use these two to make it together. As for the crisis in Hangzhou, it can only be delayed for a while. Moreover, Hangzhou without the Little White Tiger has not been destroyed, let alone the existence of the holy totem of the Little White Tiger. There will not be any big problems in Hangzhou for a while. There is no need to worry about anything in Phenio City. Here, the sea monster is only a test. But with the Moon Moth Phoenix and Baksha, there is no big problem. Back to Yuxu City, Tangmao didn't care whether Ding Yumian was happy or not, and forced her to stay. And he also told her elders that no one could let her do anything without his permission. Ding Yumian was not a fool. After agreeing to stay, he looked up at Tangmao and asked, "Will anything happen to me? Your special ability of the psychic system has been exposed. I don't want anyone to use you for anything." Tangmao did not hide anything and responded directly, "If I can help." Tangmao interrupted what Ding Yumian wanted to say and said very seriously, "That is at the cost of life. You are my woman. If repelling the sea monster requires your life in exchange, then it is not necessary. Besides, we don't owe the country anything, and no one can force you. As for you, don't just think about justice all day. Living is a real thing. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 778 Tangmao's Strength. Ding Yumian stared at Tangmao blankly. This seemed to be a little different from what she had learned. But for some reason, she had no reason to refute it. Yes, who would want to die if they could live? But anyway, she must be there, and now she has been forcibly arranged in Yuxu City by Tang Mao. Not to mention, being a city councillor, even the speaker has no right to transfer her. What's more, Xiao Zheng's current status is almost unshakable. Xiao Zheng also knows who Tang Mao is, so he naturally won't do anything that hurts the relationship. The most important thing is that, although Tang Mao did not take the political route, especially after fighting with the Seeking Skeleton and beheading him, the love he has from the people in the country is already at the top. At this time, coming to experience the arm wrestling game with Tang Mao, isn't that asking for trouble? And the most important point is that the totem beasts that appeared in Hangzhou, Magic City, and Phoenix City, who doesn't know that they are related to Tang Mao? They all come from Yuxu City. Totems are the nemesis of ocean monsters. This is not just a casual remark. They all have the power of totems against ocean monsters. This is the experience gained from fighting thousands of years ago. No matter which country the human beings are from, they may not have such means. Therefore, as long as Tang Mao is not a person who declares himself to be the Black Church internationally, there is no one who will trouble him at this time. After arranging Ding Yumian, Tang Mao left Phoenix City. As for Mo Fan and others, they went to Zhuhai City to investigate clues about totems. With Fei Lion as a means of transportation, Tang Mao arrived at the Parthenon in less than a day. When he just arrived at the Parthenon, a graceful woman wearing black silk, and with her cheeks wrapped in a scarf came towards him. Although she was still beautiful with a veil, he still reached out and took off her veil. The veil was removed, and her face was stunning, charming and holy. She had the sacredness of a goddess that could not be desecrated, and her whole body was full of devilish temptation. "Can't you wait for me to find you? You always come to greet me specially, which makes me feel embarrassed." Looking at Ashiruya in front of him, Tang Mao said with a smile. Although he said so, he certainly didn't think so in his heart. People who are not valued must find ways to be valued. Ashiruya raised her eyebrows and then said with disdain, "Besides, if I don't come out, you don't know what you are thinking." "What do you mean by that? How can I not value you?" Holding the soft waist, he asked affectionately. "He-man." Ashiruya rolled her eyes at Tang Mao. "You should heal my wounds first, otherwise I won't have the energy to discuss other things with you." Feeling his discomfort, Tang Mao let her go. Seeing Tang Mao like this, Ashiruya laughed. "What's so funny? You know I just had a fight with that skeleton." Then, he took out the damaged black dragon magic armor and black snake magic armor and handed them to Ashiruya, saying, "You have many skilled craftsmen in Parthenon, so help me repair the equipment. If possible, it would be even better to fuse these two magic tools together." Ashiruya was stunned when she saw the magic tools handed over by Tang Mao. Just from the video, I already felt that this Seeking Skeleton was very powerful, but I didn't expect it to be so strong. The black dragon magic armor was beaten like this. But then again, Tang Mao was not damaged at all after suffering such a fierce attack. Wasn't it because of this black dragon magic armor? If it weren't for this treasure and the protection of the demon system, whether he could stand here now would be another matter. Your current opponent is getting more and more perverted. After a long time, Ashiruya looked at him and said. In this regard, Tang Mao did not deny it. Now even if the opponent is a monarch, he can kill him at will. The only ones who could fight him seriously were some invincible monarchs. The primary supreme monarchs were not a big threat to him. Moreover, after this battle, Fei Lion told Tang Mao that under the command of Qilin, it was also constantly getting stronger and recovering its strength from 1,000 years ago. As a totem sacred beast, if its strength was at the same level as a totem beast, it would be somewhat embarrassing. Tang Mao had been puzzled before. Fei Lion was not lower than the 4 sacred beasts, so why was its strength only a little higher than this? Now he understood. It turned out that Fei Lion's power was still buried. However, helping Fei Lion was Qilin's business, and he didn't know how long it would take. But to put it bluntly, the iron must be strong before it can be forged. This time, in addition to finding Ashiruya to recover strength and forge magic tools, the most important thing for coming to Parthenon was to come here for a treat. As one of the top forces in the world, Parthenon has the best place to practice. Before, He only got the right to practice in it because he accepted the god seal praise ceremony, but now it is different. Now, one of the goddesses is his old lover, and the other is the lover of his younger brother. It is of course casual for two people who know each other to come here. After Ashurua helped Tang Mao recover enough strength, Tang Mao went to retreat. As for her, it would be difficult to recover in 3 or 4 days. Of course, the 2 magic armors have been sent to the strongest forger in Parthenon. As for whether it can achieve the effect Tang Mao wants, no one knows. After starting the retreat, the first to rush to the barrier was naturally his fire system. Now the fire system is definitely the leader, and the practice breakthrough naturally starts with it. Even without any natural treasures, it only took 3 days to break through the 3rd level of the superclass of the fire system with the help of Killin. Next, it was the thunder element. This place was really good. Although there was no extra increase, every time he came here for a treat, he could feel that the speed of cultivation was almost doubled by all the additions. Of course, for the dark element magic, there was no superposition of this effect. Although magicians were different from cultivators, he almost stayed in the secret room except for releasing the power of the wild. Almost a month had passed before he knew it. It had been a month since the last battle, and during this period, Tang Mao successfully upgraded the Starseer of Fire, Thunder, Ice, and Space by 1 level respectively. 4 elements super level perfection. Normally speaking, he was already a magician who had fully cultivated 4 element. Speaking of which, he had never expected that he had just fought hard and would bring such a great effect. If he had known this earlier, he would have gone to the Emperor to wrestle with him. Of course, in fact, this was also because his own power had been compressed a long time ago, and he had never had the opportunity to dredge it. This battle almost made him go all out, and it was because of this that he could cultivate these 4 elements to super level perfection in just 1 month. The shadow and wind systems are at the 2nd level of the superclass. There is no change in the summoning system, which is still at the 1st level of the superclass. However, his summoning system has not been improved. Apis and the others have all made different improvements under Tang Mao's large supply of resources. Apis also advanced to the level of the Supreme Monarch during this long sleep. Yanji reached the level of the Great Monarch. Zhao Hei also advanced to the level of the Great Monarch. Zunu and Fengji are still in the Middle Monarch realm. As for the 9-tailed fox, it has also recovered to the realm of Pseudo-Emperor, Middle Emperor. Then there is his light system, which showed signs of breakthrough in the previous battle, and has now successfully crossed over to the superclass stage. The sound system has been promoted to the superclass with the help of Xinghe Xianmei. The chaos system is still at a high level with full cultivation. Chapter 779 Cream Cake. A fierce battle really brought him too much help. These were not even what he expected. Originally, it was just to find the charming divine bird to add a life-saving charm to himself. You know, after finding the charming divine bird, he prepared 3 fire spirit seeds on his body. The charming divine bird was reborn from the fire. Whenever he was in danger, it could become his heart and help him to be reborn. There was even no such thing as the charming divine bird unwilling to become a heart. Because, with the help of the Killin, the charming divine bird had already known its mission. That is, no matter what, it was necessary to ensure that Tang Mao would not die. In addition, the strength of the charming divine bird was also the Supreme Monarch. However, it is still in the recovery state. After coming out of seclusion, Tang Mao came to Ashurua's residence. Compared with the previous easy night visit to the goddess's boudoir, he can now do it quietly. After reaching the 3rd level of the space system, Tang Mao mastered a deeper way of space magic. He could even travel through the space wormhole within 3 hours and arrive in China from the Parthenon. Of course, all this still requires some calculation. Just like now, he was heading for Ashurua's room, but he came to Yi Xingqi's room. The reason why he noticed something wrong as soon as he arrived was naturally because the cream cake there was obviously not what Ashurua should have. So, Tang Mao left here in an instant. Just when Tang Mao disappeared, Xingqi suddenly sat up. However, there was nothing to see around, and Xingqi just thought that she had noticed it wrong. Leaving Xingqi's room, this time he came to Ashurua's residence accurately. After all, he was still a little unskilled. If he was completely proficient, Tang Mao could even tear open the passage of the plane and go to other worlds. Of course, this was just his guess, and he didn't know whether he could do this. Ashurua was different from Xingxia. She was a space mage herself, so the moment Tang Mao appeared, she looked over vigilantly. After seeing that it was Tang Mao, she was relieved. Immediately, Ashurua was a little surprised and asked, "How did you get in?" "Of course I got in this way." Tang Mao walked to her side, grabbed the cream cake prepared by Ashurua with one hand, and took a bite of the strawberry fruit on it. After a month of seclusion, he was almost starving. Now that he was out of seclusion, of course he would enjoy some delicious food. Although Ashurua's cake didn't look as big as Xingxia's, he couldn't let her down, just because she looked like she had prepared it for him for a long time. He ate one, and was still thinking about the other one. He seemed to be afraid that she would snatch it, so he grabbed the other one in his hand. Ashurua raised her fair neck slightly, as if she couldn't stand his eating. She didn't know why. The person eating was obviously Tang Mao, but she blushed. However, as long as it wasn't him who was embarrassed, it would always be someone else. He was really greedy. Although this was not the first time for him to practice hard for a month, as someone who had fruit to eat every day, how could he not be anxious if he had nothing to eat for a month in a row? As for etiquette, is it necessary? Eating is a matter of happiness, and the person who made it will naturally be happy. However, although he was a little hungry, he didn't eat alone. He took out his lollipop and put it next to Ashurua's mouth. She was very reluctant to eat this kind of thing, but Tang Mao was so obsessed with the cream cake she made, how could she dislike the lollipop that others carried with them? A midnight snack, which lasted until dawn. Before fainting, Ashurua did not forget to tell Tang Mao that the Black Dragon Python armor had been fused. Refined and fused with the Black Dragon magic armor and the Black Snake magic armor, and combined with some rare materials she found, the level of this Black Dragon Python armor has been sublimated many times. According to Ashurua's introduction, this Black Dragon Python armor is not only immune to elemental magic below the forbidden spell, but now it is also immune to the damage caused by black magic. For example, poison, such as curse. Even if it is an elemental magic at the forbidden spell level, it can offset a lot. It can be said that with this magic armor, under the forbidden spell, as long as he is not a wizard of dimensional magic, he can hardly be shaken. Just by listening, you know that this little woman has paid a lot for you again. But as a grown man, how can Tang Mao take advantage of a woman? Although he has no money, he can still repay it in other ways. Anyway, it's still early. If the drowsy Ashurua knew that it was because of some of her precious materials that she couldn't open her eyes, I'm afraid she would not be so kind next time, right? After eating and wiping his mouth, he didn't wait to say goodbye to her and left here. Now that the domestic situation is tense, how can he stay here and live happily? Moreover, he seems to have found his way to break through quickly. That is to fight. Fight with powerful opponents. Just when Tang Mao had just left the Parthenon, Mo Fan suddenly called. I don't know if this sun thief is a coincidence or has his own whereabouts. The call came so punctually. Boss Tang, you are there. Something important has happened. As soon as the call was connected, Mo Fan's anxious voice came. No matter what happens, you must remain calm. Listen to your tone now, as if the sky is about to fall. Tang Mao lectured. Damn. Such a loud voice, it makes my ears uncomfortable. After a while of silence on the other end of the phone, another voice came over. Boss Tang, this is it. Didn't you ask me to get in touch with Liu Feng more? I have been his guinea pig several times, and he gave me a big surprise. It's about fusion this time. The voice was much calmer, as if it had matured a lot all of a sudden. Damn, why didn't you tell me such a big thing earlier? What are you hesitating about? Wait, I'll be there now. When Tang Mao heard that it was about fusion magic, of course he would pay attention to it. You know, this is something that can change the pattern of mankind. Monsters are strong and humans are weak. Now is the season when sea monsters are rampant. If this fusion method is really developed and patented, then it is not impossible for humans to destroy monsters in the future. although he has never paid much attention to these things. As early as when Mo Fan went as Yu Hei, he told him that if Feng Xiaolong had any major research, he must tell him and keep him. Chapter 780 Space Gate. After Tang Mao hung up Mo Fan's phone, he tore the space wormhole directly and rushed to Guangzhou. In fact, he didn't really need to operate the fusion method, because he could already try to fuse magic. However, this thing can benefit the world and enhance mankind, so he naturally needs to pay close attention to it. Moreover, it's time to settle the account with Sulu. Guangzhou is not peaceful now, but there are many magicians fighting to the death outside the Anji, and the people in the city are still doing their own things. And just today, suddenly, the sky was torn apart. Exclamation mark. Oh my god, what is that? The first person who looked up and saw this scene suddenly shouted, instantly attracting the attention of many people. As one or two people raised their heads, almost everyone outside the city looked up at the sky. Inside the Guangzhou Tower, Mo Fan, what the hell are you doing? Who do you want me to wait for? Do you know that, if you promote it later, many people will die? After Mo Fan completed the fusion magic, Feng Xiaolong couldn't wait to rush to the headquarters of the Asian Magic Association to apply for his own research and development promotion. Now is the time when the powerful sea monsters are coming. If you delay for one more day, I don't know how many people will die. Speaking of which, I don't know, but Tang Mao told me that if you leave before he comes, he will first demolish the Guangzhou Tower and then demolish me. Mo Fan spread his hands, looking very embarrassed. Tang Mao's tone, that's not a joke. He doesn't want to experience it. I'm not familiar with him. Why did he ask me? Feng Xiaolong paused, then looked at Mo Fan and said, you didn't tell him about the fusion method, did you? Old Feng, don't think too much. It's not like he doesn't know how to perform fusion magic. Moreover, he can do it without any equipment. Mo Fan explained for fear that Feng Xiaolong would misunderstand. Feng Xiaolong also knew about Tang Mao, but the impression was not very good. In his cognition, this man was an extremely arrogant and domineering person. If he really wanted his fusion method, he would not be able to leave this door if he didn't give it to him. Thinking about it, he asked again, what kind of decorations does your boss like? Feng Xiaolong still felt that Tang Mao must have come here to get the same equipment as Mo Fan. However, Mo Fan was a guinea pig, so he gave it to him, but Tang Mao, well, Feng Xiaolong thought it was better to prepare it, so as not to waste time. Old Feng, I think you really misunderstood. He asked me to be a guinea pig. Otherwise, do you think I would trust you so much? Seeing that Feng Xiaolong still didn't believe it, Mo Fan told him about his initiative to find Feng Xiaolong. This made Feng Xiaolong even more confused. Although he had studied a lot of strange things, they were not very practical, nor were they very famous. People like Tang Mao shouldn't pay attention to him, right? But since he recommended Mo Fan, the guinea pig, to help him complete this great experiment, Feng Xiaolong thought that he would wait for a while. Anyway, it wouldn't be a big deal in a few days. Teacher Feng, look outside. Suddenly, Shajia looked at the sky outside the mirror and said. Hearing the voice, Mo Fan and Feng Xiaolong also looked over. When they saw it, they were both dumbfounded. This space crack that suddenly appeared in the sky was really incredible. Is this also a sea monster? Mo Fan said subconsciously. After all, it was the sea monsters that were starting a war with China, and there were countless powerful sea monsters. Not to mention the commander level, there are too many monarchs. Some of them have special abilities, it's hard to say. No. Shajia shook her head and denied Mo Fan's guess, and then said, although I'm not sure what this is, I can sense that it's not a demon. At this time, Mo Fan did not question it, nor did he wonder why Shajia was so clear. Even he himself was not sure. Look, the people from the Magic Association seem to have gone to study it. Feng Xiaolong said to the two after watching the people from the Guangzhou Magic Association go out. Let's go and take a look. Although there is no breath of demons, I always feel that it is not simple. Shajia looked at Mo Fan and said, okay. Mo Fan did not hesitate and followed Shajia out. Similarly, Feng Xiaolong followed him out. Although the matter of fusion magic is very important, the sudden tear in the sky is still very confusing. And when they came out, they saw the two magicians from the Magic Association, who were close to the space crack. The wings behind them seemed to have lost their function, and the whole person began to fall to the ground. The speed was too fast. Even Shagia and Moffin could not rush over to save people. However, judging from the cultivation of the two people, they should be at the level of super class mages. Even if they fell, they should not die. But a strange scene appeared. At the moment when the two began to fall, a silver wall suddenly wrapped them up. And the next moment, a figure walked out of the space crack. Damn, it seems that you are not skilled enough. Tang Mao muttered unhappily after leaving. After he came out, the space crack dissipated and returned to its normal state. The two mages who came here to detect were rescued by Tang Mao and floated up. Looking at Tang Mao standing in the air, they all looked confused. Then one of the mages asked, "Senior, are you also a human? Could it be that I'm still a ghost?" Tang Mao asked back. He didn't know what kind of wonders he created on the other side of the shuttle. He only knew that when he was about to find a way out, he sensed the breath of two human magicians, and then his space force initiated self-protection, which was why the two fell. Fortunately, Tang Mao discovered it in time, otherwise, the two people would have been cured. What just now was? The magician who asked before asked again. Just now that was my new magic. I'm not familiar with it. You should have been attacked by the turbulence caused by the passage torn in my space. Tang Mao explained. At this time, he realized that there was already a large group of people below. Without knowing when, he didn't know what they were paying attention to. Tang Mao took out his mobile phone and looked at it, and then he found that it took 4 hours. Sure enough, there is always a big gap between practice and expectation. Chapter 781 Protecting Feng Zhaolang. Then he saw Mo Fan's figure thousands of meters away. He disappeared here in an instant. The next moment, Tang Mao came to Mo Fan and his companions. As for the crowd watching the show, he didn't bother to pay attention to them. After all, he was not a monkey and was not for viewing. If they were not all human, Tang Mao would have given them a Rice Luin and Fire Phoenix. Seeing Tang Mao suddenly appear behind them, Shagia and Feng Zhaolang were both stunned. Mo Fan was also dumbfounded. "Boss Tang, you. Mo Fan didn't know what to say for a while. Although this should also be a normal phenomenon. But, why does it feel so outrageous? What's wrong? Are you stupid?" Tang Mao looked at Mo Fan with disdain. How dare he follow him with such an unsophisticated look? No, it's mainly just now. Mo Fan digested the previous things while telling them. After listening to Mo Fan's story, Tang Mao finally understood why there were so many people there just now, and even people from the Magic Association showed up. It turned out that it was because he made too much noise. He actually didn't know about this. As Mo Fan spoke, he took out a video from the internet. Apparently, someone had already filmed the scene and uploaded it to the internet. Nowadays, the shooting function has special equipment, so the shooting is very clear. "This is the space gate I just studied, but I'm not proficient yet," Tang Mao explained, and then looked at Feng Zhaolang and walked over. Feng Zhaolang looked at Tang Mao and was a little confused. "I came here for only one thing, that is to stop you from going to the Asian Magic Association, to promote the fusion magic." Tang Mao saw Feng Zhaolang looking at him and said bluntly. Now, Mo Fan was a little confused. This should be a good thing. How can it be stopped? Impossible, I must go. Feng Zhaolang was even more tough. If you don't go to the Asian Magic Association to get publicity, this fusion will only be listed as a forbidden technique. There is no way. The Magic Association is so overbearing. You will die if you go this way, Tang Mao said again. Feng Zhaolang looked at Tang Mao in confusion, and then said, "No, you are too naive, and I know Sulu better than you do. If I really get the fusion method from you, Sulu will definitely kill you. In this world, killing people does not need to be done by hand." Feng Zhaolang listened, but he did not believe it. After all, Sulu, the chief of the Asian Magic Association, personally fought against the emperor-level monster in Japan. Moreover, he did it himself. How could such a person be selfish? Tang Mao knew what kind of person Sulu was without having contact with him. What's more, he had contacted him several times, but he knew it, which did not mean that everyone knew it. If everyone knew what Sulu was like, how could he become the highest ranking person in the Asian Magic Association? In the eyes of many people, Sulu is a hero. It was he who defeated the Siren King with a powerful wizard. If it weren't for him, a country would have disappeared from the map. Looking at Feng Zhaolong's appearance, he knew that this guy didn't believe in him at all. This was very speechless, but he couldn't prove anything. I think you are suspicious. Even if Sulu really has ambitions, he can't do anything to Professor Feng. Otherwise, the whole of Asia will be against him. Shajia looked at Tang Mao and said, Mo Fan still believed in Tang Mao, and he had no reason to doubt him. But he didn't know Sulu either. In that case, then you go. Tang Mao didn't waste any more words, and waved his hand. Feng Zhaolong didn't hesitate, and left here with a few assistants and Shajia. The reason for being so hurried was mainly because he was afraid that Tang Mao would regret it. After Feng Zhaolong left, Mo Fan asked, Boss Tang, although I don't know Sulu, I still believe in you. Since you already know that he will be killed, why do you let him go? Feng Zhaolong's research and development will help the whole world's human beings to improve by a big step. I'm doing this for his own good, and for the good of mankind, but if I forcefully stop him, the meaning will change. Tang Mao shook his head and said. But what? Give me the fusion magic weapon he gave you. Tang Mao stretched out his hand and said. Mo Fan paused. How could his treasure be robbed while he was talking? Question mark? Tang Mao said again, this time, we are facing the top power in Asia. Although I can also do some magic fusion, I'm not proficient. Let me borrow the gadget he gave you. As long as Feng Zhaolong is alive, can we still lack such things? Mo Fan understood what Tang Mao meant when he heard what he said. This is to protect secretly. At this time, Mo Gaozi certainly would not hesitate. He also knew what Feng Zhaolong's life and death were related to. What is valuable in the desert is an oasis, but what is more precious is a prosperous, luxurious, golden and fashionable giant city. They can be without green, but they can be full of gold. Ancient Arabia has always been yearned for this. The golden sands are hills and flowing. They do not need emerald green plants to set off. They are so vibrant. Golden World, Silver City. The headquarters of the Asian Magic Association stands here. The highest silver spire is like a sharp ancient sword, piercing the blue sky. A group of patrolling black desert eagles are orderly arranged in a long formation in the air, lingering in the sky near the silver tower. Dubai is a city with many rules, but there are no restrictions. If it were normal, Tang Mao would come here in a high-profile manner. But now it is different. He came here to protect Feng Zhaolong, the persistent fool. He was told that he would die if he came here. If you want to live, stay in China, and you can still get promotion. But think about it again. In fact, Tang Mao can understand that people like them want to make some contributions to the world, not just one country. After all, the number of demons is too many. Only when humans become powerful can they really fight against demons. Tang Mao took the lead and arrived outside the debate tower of the Asian Magic Association. After waiting for nearly a day, he saw Feng Zhaolong and his group rushing here. Tang Mao followed them and quietly. Although Shaka was an angel, her power was sealed, and she could not detect Tang Mao at all. As for the mages guarding here, it was even more impossible for them to detect Tang Mao. With his current space system combined with the power of the shadow system, he could hide himself, and it would be difficult for ordinary primary emperors to detect him. Chapter 780 To the Real Sulu. When Feng Zhaolong arrived here, the first person he saw was Meng Shang, the vice president of the Asian Magic Association, and then naturally Sulu. After all, Sulu is now the biggest ruler here. As long as he knows about the fusion of magic, he will definitely agree to promote it. If Sulu promotes it, the war between humans and demons will have a new look. When Sulu learned about Feng Zhaolong's research and development, he was also surprised. You know, this is unprecedented. Moreover, if magic can be fused, how powerful it will be. However, how can this method of becoming powerful be allowed to be learned by others? How can you prove that this is true? Sulu asked. Feng Zhaolong told Sulu about what Mo Fan had practiced before, and also showed Sulu the video of the performance. Of course, Mo Fan himself was not filmed in it, but the two systems of power he exerted were perfectly exerted. After Sulu saw this thing, he had some special ideas, but he didn't say anything, and very politely arranged for Feng Zhaolong and others to go down and rest first. As for the matter of fusion magic, then it will be handled by Vice Chairman Meng Shang. Sulu behaved very kindly. Both Feng Zhaolong and Shaijia felt that Tang Mao might really be a little mean. However, they did not notice that the moment they left, Sulu's eyes showed a hint of cruelty. In the evening, in Feng Zhaolong's lounge. "Why are you here?" Feng Zhaolong just returned to the room and saw Tang Mao sitting in his room. To be honest, Feng Zhaolong was quite shocked to see Tang Mao sitting on the sofa in his room. This is inside the Debei Fat Tower. But I didn't expect that Tang Mao could come and go at will. You don't believe me, and I'm too lazy to waste my breath with you. Tang Mao shrugged and then said, "Before you told Sulu about the fusion magic, Vice Chairman Meng Shang asked you to come to strengthen the Magic Association, but you refused. Tonight is your death. If it weren't for your usefulness to the progress of mankind, I wouldn't bother to care about your life or death. If it were before, Tang Mao would never get involved in such things. It doesn't matter to him whether others are strong or not. Anyway, he is strong enough. Thousands of cities, how many mages will be killed or injured in one day? So even if he is unhappy, he still came. That's just Deputy Chairman Meng Shang's own idea. I believe that Chief Sulu will definitely support and promote it to the world's mages." Feng Zhaolong is still willing to believe Sulu. After all, it was Deputy Chairman Meng Shang who proposed it before. But he was still quite moved that Tang Mao followed him to protect him. At least his starting point was not wrong. Tang Mao was too lazy to talk nonsense. After noticing that there was no movement, he closed his eyes and rested. This day, he wasted his magic energy and slept in the open air. This dog day was comfortable, eating top quality ingredients. Although it was the last meal in a sense, the feeling of enjoyment really made Tang Mao grit his teeth. When has he, Tang, ever been so frustrated? Feng Zhaolong saw that Tang Mao was not willing to pay attention to him and seemed to have thought of something. He asked, "Do you need me to help you get some midnight snacks?" When Tang Mao was about to speak, he suddenly heard footsteps. I have to say, Sulu is really a ruthless person. Feng Zhaolong had just come back from dinner, and his killers were already here? However, according to where they left Sulu, this period of time was indeed enough for Sulu to arrange everything. No, they are already here. The moment the words fell, Tang Mao's figure suddenly disappeared in the room. It was almost as if he evaporated here, disappearing without a trace. Exclamation mark. Feng Zhaolong was stunned. He wanted to ask something, but Tang Mao was gone. And then, Shajia ran in a hurry. "Teacher Feng Zhaolong, come with me quickly." When Shajia was about to say to follow me, Sulu and several top people from the Asian Magic Association walked in. Seeing them, and thinking about what Tang Mao said, he finally understood that all this was true. "Feng Zhaolong, you are an outstanding person. But why are you so ignorant of the times? Give me the fusion magic plan, and everyone who came with you can still survive. Otherwise." Sulu didn't point it out, but I think anyone can understand what he meant. "Sulu, don't you want humans to go one step further? Now that the sea monsters are a disaster to the world, once this fusion method is launched, it will be of great help to humans." Feng Zhaolong still insisted. "You are really ignorant. It seems that you don't want your students to live," Sulu said coldly. The moment he spoke, a student was directly executed by a peak position. Since the last battle, he, Sulu, has gone from having no one to a bunch of licking dogs. Moreover, these licking dogs are either super level perfection or peak positions, and each one is an extremely powerful existence. Therefore, as long as you reach an absolute height, you will never lack lackers around you. You attacked Mr. Feng Zhaolong. Aren't you afraid of getting in trouble? Will they just stop here? Shaijia still couldn't believe that Sulu was really going to do it. Moreover, he personally brought people here. Ha, Sulu sneered when he heard this. Looking at Shaijia, he said, "Naive little girl, this is Dubei, this is the territory of this speaker, and everything here is up to me. Besides, you were killed by the Black Church. What does it have to do with me, Sulu?" After hearing what Sulu said, Feng Zhaolong and Shaijia both felt a little ironic. Before coming, Tang Mao told them, but unfortunately they didn't believe it. Unexpectedly, as one of the world's top forces, the Asian Magic Association would actually do such a thing in the name of the Black Church! Exclamation mark. Deal with them. Seeing Feng Zhaolong like this, Sulu didn't want to waste his breath anymore. The fusion method can indeed enhance the power of human magicians, but it also has an uncertainty. Now Sulu is also one of the top fighters in the world, but with the fusion method, who knows if his power will be surpassed? After all, the fusion of magic and magic, the power generated, that is another thing. As the person in power, Sulu naturally cannot allow this to happen. So, since Feng Zhaolong does not cooperate, they have no choice but to die. And these things, of course, were done by the Black Church. Chapter 783 Tang Mao, Sulu, you still look so ugly when eating. After receiving Sulu's order, a top-ranking person killed all the students. Then he rushed to kill Feng Zhaolong and Shaijia. Seeing this, Shaijia was full of regrets. She regretted that she naively thought that Sulu was a good leader who served the people. However, whether she regretted it or not, she had only one idea at the moment, that is, she must take Feng Zhaolong away. It didn't matter if she died, but Feng Zhaolong could be said to be the key to the further development of mankind. No matter what, he couldn't be in trouble. Looking at the top-ranking person rushing over, Shaijia's momentum suddenly surged. The powerful momentum made even Sulu's forbidden spell stunned. Bang! The next moment, the top-ranking person was shocked and retreated. Even if Sulu hadn't suddenly attacked and attacked quickly enough, the explosion just now might have taken the life of the top-ranking person. Sulu had already noticed something wrong the moment Shaijia exploded, but even he didn't expect that there was a holy city angel traveling in the world hidden in this group of colleges. Even though the power only exploded for a moment, Sulu still noticed it immediately. Boom. Although no magic was completed, Sulu and Shaijia had already fought. Shaijia, whose power was sealed, was obviously no match for Sulu, and then she was going to run outside with Feng Zhaolong. Humph, I didn't expect there would be such a big fish among them. Sulu looked at Shaijia and Feng Zhaolong who broke out of the window, but he didn't care. Because at some point, a powerful black energy from him had already wrapped Feng Zhaolong up. What kind of fusion magic? How can such a ghost thing appear in the world? Sulu snorted coldly, and was about to kill. But to Sulu's surprise, his dark matter had clearly just merged into Feng Zhaolong's body. So why were Shaijia and Feng Zhaolong in the distance still running? Question mark? Of course, they couldn't leave the holy city, but near the debate tower, Sulu couldn't make too much noise. He was indeed the highest ruler here, but he still had many branches. If these people also knew what they had done, then these people would unite with the holy city and the other 4 continent magic associations, and the result would be unimaginable. Sulu, you are still so ugly when you eat. Just when Sulu was wondering what was wrong, Tang Mao's figure suddenly appeared on the sofa. Seeing Tang Mao suddenly appear, all the super level perfect, upper level, and top level mages in the room were dumbfounded. Because they had been here for so long, but they didn't even find that there were other people here. Tang Mao. The moment Sulu saw Tang Mao, he almost exploded instantly. It was anger from the heart, and the people behind Sulu were trembling with fear. After all, Sulu has always been a person who is good at disguising himself, and his joy and anger are never shown on his face. With such a raging anger, it is really unimaginable what Tang Mao had done. Why are you so angry? It's like I dug up your ancestral grave. Tang Mao was still as calm as water when Sulu looked like this. You have ruined my plans many times. I will see where you can run and debate today. Sulu attacked right away after he finished speaking. He even forgot about the matter of the angel and Feng Zhaolong. Feng Zhaolong and the angel would definitely not be able to run away. After all, this is his territory. Here, he has so many minions. Although it is said that angels rule the world, angels are also human. They don't have 3 heads and 6 arms. In his territory, they have no chance to run. Sulu turned into a shadow and rushed over. Tang Mao was not afraid at all. Thunder flashed in his palm and directly hit his shadow. Boom. As soon as the powerful thunder came out, the shadow dissipated instantly. Sulu was also wearing a magic armor to avoid injury. However, he was also surprised at Tang Mao's strength. How long has it been? It's only been more than a year. This young boy can actually compete with him? You know, more than a year ago, Tang Mao was against him and was trembling behind the Black Dragon Emperor. Tang Mao did not stop here. If he took action here, he would not be able to perform, and it is very likely that he would offend all the senior officials of the Asian Magic Association. Although he was not afraid of these people together, why would he cause himself such trouble if there was no grudge? Sulu and Tang Mao, that was almost a blood feud. He may have never wanted to kill someone so much in his life. Fortunately, Tang Mao got this quota. Bang! Sulu immediately broke out of the window and chased out. As for his lackeys, they all reacted at this time. No matter who this young man is, one thing is certain, this is their chance to become Sulu's confidant. Sulu's ambition has never been satisfied because of the head of an Asian Magic Association. He wants to be the emperor in the human world. Although it is still just a big deal, this kind of person always has a special charm. After being escaped from the debate tower by Shijia, Liu Feng was already a little out of breath. Although he is also a mage, Sulu's suppression before almost made him breathless. Teacher Feng Xiaolong, are you okay? Shijia looked at the back and saw that there were no pursuers. He breathed a sigh of relief and asked Feng Xiaolong, I'm fine. Sulu's suppression just now was broken by Tang Mao. It's just that I haven't had a breath yet, and you dragged me out, so I'm a little out of breath. Feng Xiaolong said, holding his chest. Tang Mao? Shijia was stunned when she heard it. She didn't expect that Tang Mao would come too. But why didn't she sense it? Boom boom at this moment, the sky was suddenly covered with dark clouds and thunder rolled. Exclamation mark. Shijia looked out of the alley and found that Tang Mao was really here. However, what she didn't understand was why Sulu and his group had surrounded him just now. Feng Xiaolong took a breath and then said, he came with us when we came. He was in the room just now. He was in the room. How could I not notice it? Shijia was even more shocked. Maybe he has a special talent? Feng Xiaolong said, this is also my fault. If I chose to believe Tang Mao and only promoted it in China, I don't think there would be so many problems. Teacher Feng Xiaolong, you are also thinking about all mankind. It's these superiors who are too greedy. It's not your fault. Shijia looked at Feng Xiaolong and comforted him. Chapter 784. It is Zhu Yan. Just when Feng Xiaolong blamed himself and Shijia comforted him, a beast cry suddenly came from afar. Hearing the sound, the two looked over again, but there seemed to be nothing in the city of Dubai. Moreover, Sulu, Tang Mao and Sulu's lackeys had disappeared on the ground. Shijia acted immediately and looked up at the sky. The next moment, Tang Mao and others were in the sky. In addition to Sulu and his lackeys, there was actually a golden giant ape besieging Tang Mao. Exclamation mark. In the air battlefield, Tang Mao's thunder domain has been condensed. Even if Sulu's cultivation is higher than him, Sulu's thunder is not as strong as Tang Mao's thunder. The domain is even more incomparable. But Sulu's thunder element can't take advantage and suddenly summoned a golden giant ape. The most important thing is that this giant ape is actually a holy totem. It is Zhu Yan. Moreover, this is actually a holy totem beast that has reached the realm of pseudo-emperor. However, looking at its appearance, it doesn't seem to be unwilling to be controlled. Haha, what's wrong? Are you surprised? Are you surprised that my summon beast is actually the sacred totem of your China? Sulu laughed wildly when he saw Tang Mao in a daze. It's a little bit unexpected. After all, I thought you would summon a nine-tailed fox. I didn't expect you to summon a monkey. The accident was of course quite unexpected, but how could Sulu feel proud? Although it is said that destroying a person will make him swell first, he just doesn't like others to pretend in front of him. When he heard the three words nine-tailed fox, Sulu's face was quite unpleasant. After all, he had to pretend. After being intercepted looking at Sulu with a sullen face, Tang Mao smiled meaningfully at Sulu and said, oh, by the way, I will tell you another thing. I also got a nine-tailed fox by chance. Hearing this, Sulu, who was originally sullen, had completely lost his normal skin color. But soon, He smiled disdainfully and said, "Do you deserve it?" He would never believe that Tang Mao had this ability. Moreover, according to his understanding, Tang Mao's contracted beasts are Snow Girl, Flame Princess and a tiger from Dimension Summoning. Let's not talk about Snow Girl and Flame Princess from Dimension Summoning. They are all the darlings of the element. Moreover, their number is pitifully small, but this young man who is not even 30 years old actually got two. Sulu is really envious. Fox, come and meet the old bastard who besieged you. Tang Mao's whole body was emitting white light, and then the nine-tailed fox emerged. As soon as the nine-tailed fox appeared, the lackey who went to war with Sulu before immediately recognized it. Isn't this the big demon that caused trouble in R? How did it appear from Tang Mao's summoning magic? Although I don't know what Tang Mao's summoning magic is, the Star Palace summoned is indeed a summoning system! Exclamation mark. The nine-tailed fox was originally asleep, but Tang Mao summoned her with magic, so she had to show up. Originally, the nine-tailed fox thought that Tang Mao wanted to eat a soft cake, but unexpectedly, she saw Sulu. As soon as she came out, the nine-tailed fox hated Sulu, a human, to the extreme. Originally, she just wanted to take back the place where she lived 1,000 years ago. But it was this man who made her become Tang Mao's ***. Although this feeling is not bad, the dignified Fox Emperor has become a tool of humans. It is conceivable that she was still very angry. Oh my god, it's the nine-tailed Fox Emperor. Wasn't the nine-tailed Fox Emperor subdued by the chief? How could he be summoned by this young man? For a while, Sulu's lackeys started to talk about it. When Zhu Yan saw the nine-tailed fox appear, he roared. The monkey over there dared to yell at this emperor. Hearing Zhu Yan's provocation, the nine-tailed fox turned his head and looked. Then, seven tails appeared behind him. With a whoosh, one tail swept over and slapped Zhu Yan. A bang sounded, and it was thought that Zhu Yan was slapped. But surprisingly, it actually grabbed the nine-tailed fox's tail. With another roar, Zhu Yan exerted force on his arm, and the nine-tailed fox was thrown over when he was caught off guard. Seeing this, Sulu suddenly sneered. It turned out to be a severely injured fox. That's good. Today I learned something that I didn't do in R. The nine-tailed fox is indeed powerful, but that was when it was at its peak. And now, it is obviously not as good as the Holy Totem of China. Speaking of which, Sulu also made a profit. This Zhu Yan also did not hold back at all. He grabbed the tail of the nine-tailed fox and swung it all over the sky, as if he was using the nine-tailed fox as a yo-yo. You all go together and kill him, Sulu said to his men nearby with a look of victory in sight. More than a dozen super level great perfections, 6 or 7 upper level ones, and 3 peak level ones, almost at the same time, attacked Tang Mao. When they heard Sulu's order, Star Palaces appeared all over the sky, and the breath of magic destruction was all over the sky battlefield. Super class thunder, super class fire, space, shadow. One after another super class magic, in the hands of these people, was completed quickly, and the next moment, they bombarded Tang Mao at the same time. Boom. A super class magic can destroy a small city. With so many powerful mages taking action, the power is naturally indescribable. Fortunately, this is the sky battlefield, otherwise it would be Dubei City that was destroyed. The next moment, Tang Mao appeared behind a peak. Shadow Evil. As Tang Mao called out softly, a black shadow emerged, and then Shadow Evil's arm condensed into a black longsword and stabbed directly. But the peak is not a superclass, nor a superior, their strength is already below the forbidden spell. So when Shadow Evil attacked with a dagger, the opponent had already defended. Puff. But unfortunately, his defense was penetrated by Shadow Evil. The black longsword just pierced into the heart of the top position, and the opponent was killed in an instant? Question mark? His defensive shield was good, but under the blessing of black magic, his shield was like nothingness. Sand and thunder explosion. At the same time, with the help of the gloves, Tang Mao completed the fusion magic. This is a high-level magic fusion of wind and thunder. For now, the fusion he can perform is high-level magic. Of course, even if it is only high-level magic, but the fusion plus the soul seeds and heaven seeds of wind and thunder, the explosive power that almost surpasses the unilateral power of thunder. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 785, Angels of Love. The violent storm and thunder filled the entire sky battlefield in an instant. Whether it was the super level great perfection or the upper level, in this violent storm and thunder, those who had magic tools to resist could barely hold on. Those whose magic tools were of low quality and had no means of defense were almost turned into ashes and scattered in the wind in the blink of an eye. Those top level people were also shocked by the scene in front of them, and they also deeply felt the power of the fusion magic. They all knew that this was just the fusion of high level magic. What if it was replaced by the fusion of super level magic? Sulu blocked the violent storm and thunder, and the whole person turned into a black ocean in an instant. He tried to swallow the thunder domain here. In this thunder, even Sulu couldn't get any advantage, so he dispelled the power of thunder. Shagia below looked at the surging dark power, and was also slightly stunned. Such a powerful dark power is definitely the strongest she has ever encountered in her life. Teacher Feng Xiaolong, you stay here, and don't go anywhere. I'll go and help. After all, she was the one who brought Feng Xiaolong here. Now, she'll let Tang Mao fight alone and let her watch from the sidelines. Shagia couldn't do this. Although once she used her power, she would no longer be so free from now on. But how could she let Tang Mao shoulder her responsibilities alone, when they were not related to her? Feng Xiaolong looked at Shagia, who was holding a black book tightly in her arms. Shagia, it's not that I don't want you to go. It's just that this level of battle. He felt that, although Shagia was strong, she would not be able to participate in it if she went. At this time, Shagia had already started to turn the pages of the book, and the black book suddenly spoke. You can't turn to that page. The book spoke, but it scared Feng Xiaolong. Shagia didn't explain anything, and black vines immediately grew out of the black book, more and more. Soon these black vines turned into a black vine bird, gently waving its vine wings, waiting for Shagia. Shaka stepped on it, and held the black book tightly with one hand. Shaka kept rising and rising, gradually approaching the battlefield above, and the clothes she was wearing fell off, revealing her original appearance. Of course, it was not what you imagined. The purple curly hair, like the thin mandragora vine, and the white and smooth skin, coupled with her beautiful color, were simply fascinating. Especially the pair of purple eyes with pure luster, which showed not weakness, but determination. Feng Xiaolong stared blankly at all the changes of Shaka. Even if he didn't pay attention to the world, he knew what Shaka was. She was actually one of the 7 angels of the holy city. But at this moment, Liu Feng was not shocked, but had only one thought. He was a man who was called mentor by the angels of the holy city. He was a winner in life. This cow, he felt that, as long as he didn't die, he could brag about it for the rest of his life. Gabriel, I didn't expect you to show up too. When Sulu was about to devour the entire thunder domain, she saw Shagia suddenly rise into the air and join in. Her sacred and bright power instantly offset the power of darkness. When the two forces collided with each other, Tang Mao's thunder domain was also restored. Sulu's darkness was the kind of dark power that did not change at first. It can be said that he was also a person who had obtained some great opportunities. When Sulu just tried to disperse the thunder, Tang Mao had already discovered it. Speaking of which, he didn't expect that Sulu would have such a method. Obviously, he was never the only one who had been getting stronger. Even without the Black Dragon Emperor, he still got the power to become stronger. I'll deal with them. You take Instructor Feng Xiaolong away. Shagia looked back at Tang Mao and said. Her voice was very nice, and coupled with her appearance, Tang Mao had a desire to blaspheme the angel. Well, that is, on the battlefield. Otherwise, Tang Mao would have to flirt with him a few times. He really didn't expect that the original Shagia would be so flavorful. Compared with the previous one, it was like heaven and earth. Sulu and I have a lot of accounts to settle. Why should we leave before we resolve them? Although Tang Mao didn't take action, he didn't mean to leave. Today is the best day to resolve Sulu. If he left today, all the power Sulu possessed would not be something Tang Mao could contend with. No matter what crime he was accused of, his final outcome would be death. After all, no matter how good he was at fighting, he couldn't withstand the power of the entire Asia. Shejia was stunned when she heard this. She originally wanted to make a move to let Tang Mao leave, but she didn't expect that this man didn't appreciate it at all. Seeing that several more top rankers were coming, Shejia knew that it was useless to say more, so she killed Sulu. The two rose to a place where the people below couldn't see and started a battle between darkness and light. Tang Mao glanced at some top rankers and upper rankers in front of him, a total of about 20 people. Damn it, you left me a pile of rotten garlic. Who are you looking down on? His voice was not loud, but it was clearly heard by everyone here. The 8 top level people and more than 10 upper level people present, which one is not a national level figure, who would have known that they were just rotten garlic in Tang Mao's mouth. Arrogant boy, don't think that you can do whatever you want with a dark creature. Look at me to get you. A top level space mage shouted angrily, and then flashed to the sky above Tang Mao and Yingxia. Then, the Silver Star Palace was formed in an instant. The Star Palace emerged, and the super level magic was released instantly. The silver light, although almost transparent, but the power that burst out from the light circle is devastating. Tang Mao glanced at the top level person with disdain. He also mastered the power of the space system as well as the other party. Even if the other party's cultivation is higher than his, it does not mean that he can use the space system to cause any destructive trauma to himself. Space Gate. As the destructive silver light wave descended, a hole suddenly appeared in the middle of the void. The next moment, the opponent's destructive space force was absorbed into it. Flame Thunderfist. After blocking the opponent's attack, Tang Mao moved in an instant and appeared next to the stun top position, and then the violent thunder and fire fist hit his body. Boom. A large amount of thunder and fire element penetrated directly from the front of him to the back. Even the clouds behind him were pierced and disappeared at this moment. Chapter 786. Apis wants to eat melons. Two powerful elemental forces penetrated each other's bodies. The old man, whose body was shattered, felt as if he was going to be useless. Moreover, he was not given too many opportunities to save himself, and the corrosive force of darkness covered his body. Then, there were continuous screams of pain, which spread across the sky. The remaining top rankers and upper rankers were already scared when they saw this scene. Obviously, Tang Mao's cultivation was not as good as this. But, for some reason, they seemed to be a pile of rotten garlic in front of the other party. The top ranker who just made a move was one of the top 100 strong men in the Earth ranking. Just like that. Form a formation. This kid is weird. Use the magic formation to kill him. Another top ranker looked at the people around him and said, since they have joined the battle, they have chosen to stand in Sulu's camp. If they escape at this time, the damage will definitely belong to their own interests. This kind of thing. No matter what, these people must not let it happen. Since ancient times, those who want to challenge the kingship by their own strength have only one end. Even if it was the Saint Sun Wente back then, what could Wenning do to the whole world? He was still dead. Immediately, 5 or 6 people formed a group, and in a blink of an eye, 3 magic arrays were condensed, and they appeared in 3 directions respectively. Their goal was very clear, that is, to kill Tang Mao, Fei Lion, Changming Shinio, Apis. Seeing that the other party had already formed an array, he naturally did not dare to be arrogant. It was still no problem to deal with one of him, but it was naturally different to deal with 3 at once. However, Fei Lion, who had reached the strength of the invincible monarch, and 3 supreme monarchs, had no problem dealing with 2 arrays. And what he needed to face were those peak level people. The moment Fei Lion appeared, Zhu Yan, who was fighting the nine-tailed fox, suddenly threw the nine-tailed fox away and came here, because it smelled a familiar breath. The nine-tailed fox was an emperor demon, and now it was suddenly thrown away, and naturally it was even more furious. The huge 7 tails entangled Zhu Yan, and its huge body was immediately bound up. It had no choice but to deal with the nine-tailed fox. When Fei Lion appeared beside Tang Mao, it just roared unwillingly. Similarly, when Fei Lion noticed Zhu Yan, He was also like a raging rage. There is also a lot of hatred between totems and totem beasts, but Feli Lion knows that he has been sleeping in Xianshan for too long. With his current strength, he will not be Zhu Yan's opponent at all. Knowing himself, he still chose to deal with the opponent in front of him. As for the bird of the same name, although it can be reborn from the ashes, its resistance in front of the holy totem is not very strong. The power of the holy totem has almost reached the realm of pseudo-emperor. Even among the 4 sacred beasts that were finally preserved and known to the world, the strongest King Lang is only at the level of middle emperor. The reason why it can reach the level of emperor is that it has survived longer than these holy totems that sleep or die in a battle. The second reason is that it is a dragon. For example, Suzaku and Beihu are only at the level of primary emperors, while Xuanwu is weaker and is a pseudo-emperor. Even Qilin, at its strongest, is still far from the level of rooftop. Tang Mao doesn't know much about the fights between totem beasts. However, judging from the situation of Feli Lion and Zhu Yan, and Zhu Yan's submission to Sulu, it's no surprise that this totem beast is not a good monkey. Holy Light Sky Sword Array. At the same time, several top level mages have already taken action. The power of this super level light array is obviously more destructive than the array used to deal with the Seeking Skeleton. And this time, the target of this super light array is still Tang Mao. Black Dragon Python armor. With a thought, a black scale skin armor spread all over the body, even the head was protected. It can be said that after the 2 armor magic tools were fused together, they were almost armed to the teeth. It was like an ordinary person wearing a set of armor. Chaos Vortex. After having protection, Tang Mao cast chaos magic at the place where the sword of light fell. At the same time, before the vortex, the space was torn apart, opening the space gate. But when the sword of light sank into the space gate, the space above was shattered. Cracks appeared one after another, and this space seemed to be broken at any time. Bang! As the cracks continued to emerge, the sword of light finally cracked the space gate. Tang Mao seemed to have expected that the space gate could not resist the opponent's formation attack. Under the space gate, the chaotic vortex also absorbed a lot of the power of the lightsaber. Without waiting for it to continue to fill up, he waved his hand and returned. Boom. The moment the 2 energies collided, the light was almost blinding. Almost everything turned white. Tang Mao flashed out directly from the bottom, and ice and fire began to burn on his body. With the help of Zhao Yanji and Zunv, he could complete the strongest fusion nirvana even without the help of the gloves. Not to mention that with the fusion gloves, he could complete the strongest destruction magic, naturally even faster. Ice Phoenix and Fire Phoenix. Moo. The Phoenix, which was condensed with ice and fire, bombarded directly towards the upper level mages with Apis and Yingsha. Yes, his target was not this group of top level mages. Tang Mao knew that, even though his attack was extremely destructive, with the combined efforts of so many top level mages, there was not much hope of taking them away in one wave. But if he could deal with these upper level mages, it would be different. Apis and Yingsha were in tune with Tang Mao, so the moment he made his move, they left here. Boom. The magic formation formed by the upper level mages was trapped in the ice and fire world almost in an instant. The upper level mages did not expect that when they were dealing with a dark creature and a Medusa, a fire and ice phoenix suddenly came from the sky and broke through their magic formation in an instant. Yingsha looked at the nutrients one by one, and almost without any courtesy, absorbed them all into the dark domain. As for Apis, she looked at the battle between Filian and Changmeng Shinio. She had no intention of helping, and was completely ready to eat melons. Hurry up and help them. Don't you see that I have to deal with so many top level people here? You have been living too comfortably recently, and you don't know what your status is. Just as she was eating melons, Tang Mao's dissatisfied voice came out in her little head. Chapter 787, Forbidden Spell. Hearing this, Apis's graceful little body softened. She stared at Tang Mao with dissatisfaction. Then she went to help Feli Lion. While eating melons, the time for beauty sleep will be shortened again. Not letting the beauty snake sleep is simply a great torture. Boom. With Tang Mao's current strength, it would not be difficult to destroy these top mages if they did not form a formation. but unfortunately, this big formation is formed. If you want to quickly resolve the battle, you can only rely on the help of external forces. So, at the moment, he did not continue to fight with them, but kept dodging. And several top mages naturally saw that Tang Mao was waiting for his reinforcement. As for these reinforcement, they were naturally those demons. These people were also very puzzled. Where did Tang Mao get so many top demons to help him? But they were not panicked. After all, this is Dubei. Here, no matter what reason Tang Mao had, the moment he provoked the kingship, his doomsday had been determined. If he was allowed to leave alive today, how would the entire Asian Magic Association survive? Without the superiors, how could some people in the superclass magician team withstand the offensive of Fei Lion, Apis, and Changming Shinyo? The most important thing is that the shadow evil that devoured the souls of all the superiors would attack them from time to time. In a short while, the team was annihilated and no one survived. Then they came to help, but when Apis and the others came, the magic circle of the top rank suddenly collapsed without any attack. Seeing this, Tang Mao was confused. This group of people might not be able to withstand their own destruction when they united. If they separated now, wouldn't that be seeking death? At this moment, a middle-aged man with silver grey hair appeared in front of Tang Mao and the others, and also stopped in front of the Debay top-ranked magician. He appeared from the top floor of the Debay Mage Tower, and the badge on his chest was a vice president's badge. I didn't take action before, but because I felt it was unnecessary. But now it seems that things are not as simple as imagined. I remember you. Silver Grey Forbidden Curse said in a low voice. If you stand in front of me, there is only one way to die. Tang Mao naturally knew the other party, but he knew it, but he was not familiar with it. Even if he knew that the other party was a forbidden spell, he still had no intention of being polite. Do you know that the enemy you are now is one of the controllers of the world? Silver Grey Forbidden Curse did not get angry, but continued to ask. If you want to fight, then fight. If you don't want to fight, then get out. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Silver Grey Forbidden Curse heard this, and his eyes were also filled with cold murderous intent. He was actually very optimistic about Tang Mao. It can be said that with his strength, he will be the top of the human world in a few years. It's a pity that he took the wrong path and offended the emperor of the whole of Asia. The star palace on his body appeared with multiple lights and shadows, looking like a large area of midsummer stars, and countless embellishments formed a beautiful and shocking palace. When he emitted light, Tang Mao had also begun to condense the elemental power of ice and fire. The other party did not use forbidden magic, but a forbidden spell, so he had nothing to fear. Moreover, even if it is a forbidden spell, with his current strength and this top grade armor magic tool, even if he fails to hit, he will definitely not die. However, what Tang Mao did not expect was that the magic used by Ziz was not ordinary magic, but a self-created universe, trying to forcibly suck Tang Mao, Apis, Yingxia, Filian, and Changming Shinyo into it, and then strangle and destroy them. Ice Luan Fire Phoenix. Fortunately, he completed his own destruction magic at the beginning, otherwise, I'm afraid that he really has no power to fight back now. Didn't you see that Apis and the others are all passively torn apart now? But the powerful ice and fire element, although it is not as shocking as thunder, it forcibly tore this universe apart. After feeling the magic that seemed to destroy everything, Ziz of the forbidden spell hurriedly urged the wing magic tool behind him to escape from here. And those top mages originally thought that, since Ziz of the forbidden spell had taken action, Tang Mao and these demons would definitely die. Who would have thought that Tang Mao didn't die? Not only did he not die, but he also destroyed Ziz's magic with a power that was no weaker than the forbidden spell. However, Ziz himself was not prepared to rely on this magic to destroy Tang Mao, but he didn't expect that he would break free so quickly. The real forbidden spell requires a long time to guide, and this guiding process does not affect the use of any other powerful magic by the forbidden spell caster. Ziz is an experienced forbidden spell mage. He did not expect that one law could give Tang Mao destruction, so at the beginning, he was guiding the coming of the forbidden spell magic. You, stop him. Seeing this, Ziz had to re-instruct the top mages behind him. He still needs time to complete the forbidden spell, and at this time, Tang Mao alone can still be dealt with, but with these demons, it will be different. Therefore, he needs the top mages to take action. These top mages didn't want to attack at this time. There was no way. Tang Mao was too powerful. They still had some confidence in dealing with the supreme monarchs and invincible monarchs around him, but dealing with Tang Mao felt like sending their heads to the ground. Watching the battle between Sulu and Shajaya, it was impossible to tell who was stronger and who was weaker for a while, so they hesitated. What are you all standing there for? Ziz was furious when he saw Tang Mao and the demons rushing over. Although several top mages regretted it, they had to bite the bullet when they saw that Ziz was already gritting his teeth. However, their target was not Tang Mao, but his contracted beast and totem beast. Tang Mao saw that these top mages were not coming for him, so he naturally ignored them. The most important thing at the moment was, of course, to stop this forbidden spell. The power of the forbidden spell was terrifying after all. It would be best if he could prevent the other party from using it. Seeing Tang Mao rushing towards him, Ziz charged up forbidden spells and released various magic skills to block Tang Mao's advance, but this guy was like an iron boy and didn't take these skills seriously at all. When they hit his body, under the protection of the black dragon python armor, there was almost no damage. Old man, don't expect your forbidden spells, come and taste my destruction. After Tang Mao appeared not far from Ziz, thunder and fire merged. Chapter 788, Superclass Fusion Beyond Forbidden Spells. Thunder and fire kept flashing around his body. After a wave of explosions, Tang Mao rushed towards Ziz like a meteorite. When he was about to touch Ziz's body, he suddenly stopped, and the figure formed by thunder and fire went straight to Ziz. Ziz felt the destruction, like the destruction of a forbidden spell. He hurriedly used his most powerful defensive magic tool to drape himself, and then used the top defensive magic tool, and cooperated with his light defense magic, like a 10,000-year-old turtle, shrinking in his shell. Boom. The thunder and fire figure seemed to despise all the defenses he made, and destroyed his top magic tool and his light magic in one go. Ziz never underestimated Tang Mao. On the contrary, he was shocked by him again and again. Who would have thought that a superclass mage could release the destructive power of a forbidden spell? And just when the armor magic tool could not hold on, he finally completed the forbidden spell. Finally, at the last moment, he completed it. Light forbidden spell, heavenly rainbow of sorrow. Compared with the forbidden spell, the previous death universe is obviously insignificant. Rainbow light is like silk, pouring down from the 9 heavens. More and more rainbow light silks pour down from a huge gate of heaven, forming hundreds of waterfall altars. Each waterfall altar is composed of thousands of pearl rainbow light silks tilted, flowing light and waterfalls, mountains, and peaks, and the rare rainbow after the rain seems to have become the most common embellishment in the heavenly altar. The forbidden spell descended, but the shadow of thunder and fire was still not wiped out, but it even competed with it. After the light system reaches a super level, the power is definitely the strongest destruction magic among the single units, whether it is super level or forbidden spell, but it is definitely incomparable to any system. But today, Tang Mao actually suppressed the destructive power of the light system forbidden spell with a realm of only 4 full cultivations. Yes, it was suppressed. After Ziz released the forbidden spell of light, he thought that his forbidden spell of light would destroy everything, but obviously, it was not what he wanted. But, the friction of the two forces caused the space to become unstable again. The battlefield in the sky had already been broken during the battle between Sulu and Shajaya, and even the speed of repair was not as fast as the speed of destruction. Then, it was shattered by Tang Mao's continuous destruction. The current space battlefield can be said to be extremely unstable, as if it will be broken at any time. After Tang Mao and Ziz fought desperately, they sneered, the forbidden spell is nothing more than that. Giving him a chance to attack, let alone the forbidden spell, even the emperor would be afraid to die. Superclass ice, plus superclass wind, the two magics began to merge. Tang Mao himself naturally had no way to achieve superclass fusion, but he had Yanji Zuno in his body. No matter what superclass magic it was, as long as it was combined with ice and fire, it could naturally achieve superclass fusion. Extreme cold storm. The light had not yet fully expanded, and the shadow of thunder and fire had not yet been erased. Suddenly, a gust of wind that destroyed everything shattered the surrounding space. The space battlefield was instantly broken. Seeing this, several top mages stopped fighting and immediately fled from here one by one. Power is important, but they also have to stay alive. If they were involved in the energy that could destroy the space battlefield, wouldn't they be dead? Seeing this, Apis, Changming Shinio, Yingsha, and Filion did not chase after him, but directly dodged and retreated hundreds of miles. At the same time, the nine-tailed fox, who was fighting with Zhu Yan, also retreated to Apis and the others, after shaking it off. Looking at the power that Tang Mao burst out, the nine-tailed fox was a little dumbfounded. This is not a power that a human can burst out. This power, even an orthodox emperor would be severely injured if he was hit. Others can still escape, but Ziz is sad. If he gives up resistance now, it will definitely be a dead end. However, seeing the ice storms around him constantly freezing his blood, he was really scared. Lord Sulu, save me. The high-altitude battlefield had collapsed, and this voice was not only heard by Sulu in the sky, but also spread throughout the entire city of Debay. A forbidden spell that asked for help in such a panic was simply unimaginable. But because the entire sky battlefield had been broken, everyone could see the scene clearly. The storm that rolled in the air and the coldness it exuded made the entire city of Debay begin to freeze. Originally, because of the collapse of the sky battlefield, everyone wanted to see a great battle, but who would have thought that this war was not something that everyone could watch? On the Debay tower, feeling the energy of the extreme cold ice coming, a speaker said, "What are you still standing there for? All mages, follow me and go to the city to form a magic barrier." This speaker was the forbidden spell that drove Sulu out of office before. When Sulu successfully saved Japan, he also realized his stupidity. Unfortunately, the people's voice has stood on Sulu's side. Even if he is unwilling, he has no choice but to step down. But even though he stepped down, he has never been submissive to Sulu. Similarly, Sulu has always wanted to kick him out of the Magic Association, but all this has not started yet, and Sulu has provoked the angel. Sulu wants to show absolute strength, so he will naturally not get involved. Because getting involved at this time will definitely give Sulu an excuse to destroy him. Sulu has an Emperor level 9-tailed fox as a summoned beast, how can he be an opponent? As for his men, only when they are in power will they be loyal dogs, but if they are not sure of victory, these people will obviously not fight with him to the end. And today, he just found out that Sulu did not contract the Emperor level summoned beast, and the person who contracted the other party came to slap him in the face. More importantly, Sulu has no advantage now. If this situation continues, Sulu will definitely lose. At this time, he naturally has to stand up. No matter what, Dubay City cannot be destroyed. Seeing the speaker speak, the mages who did not participate in the war had to follow him to set up defenses. Of course, there were still some people who were unmoved. They were more concerned about the outcome of the battle. But no matter who they were, they had no intention of saving Ziz. Pauses. The light forbidden spell did not shine as it should, but was wiped out. Moreover, everyone could see that when that ray of light completely dissipated, it was the time for the forbidden spell to fall. Chapter 789. Sulu's power. The light was getting dimmer and his cry for help was constantly heard. At this moment, he was already begging. Who would have thought that the arrogant forbidden spell mage would be beaten like this by a superclass mage with 4 perfect element? Zuhu and Iao stood there, staring blankly at Ziz who was about to be wiped out, and for a moment his heart was filled with emotion. Speaking of which, he was still thinking about revenge for Zubo and Zhu Xiangshan. After all, Zubo was gone, and although Zhu Xiangshan was healed, his talent was also abolished, because of the loss of several of his own borrowed demons. The most important thing was that, even if he recovered in this life, he would only be a superclass mage, and he would not be able to become a superclass mage further. How could Zuhu and Iao let go of such a deep hatred? But today, he witnessed the fall of a forbidden spell with his own eyes. How could he have the courage to take revenge on that young man? Question mark? Zubo died because he didn't listen to advice and overestimated his own abilities. Although Zhu Xiangshan was useless, he still had a superclass cultivation, and he was not useless. With him, at least the Zhu family had not been wiped out. At least among the 3 generations, Zhu Xiangshan was still the one who was proud. Up in the sky, the energy of elemental magic dissipated, and Ziz began to fall like a person without a soul. Seeing this, Yingsha rushed over directly, and the black energy instantly wrapped him. Tang Mao solved Ziz, and looked at several top-level mages dozens of miles away. The moment Tang Mao looked over, those top-level mages panicked. They knew very well what was wrapping up Ziz. It was a creature from the dark plane, and after being killed by Tang Mao, the soul was not retained. In this case, how could they not panic when he looked at them? These top-level mages originally wanted to observe the situation, but now, none of them stayed for more than a minute, and turned around, and fled for their lives in an instant. After watching these people flee, Tang Mao looked at Sulu in the sky. Speaking of which, he was a little surprised. Sulu shouldn't be so strong with her own strength, right? She could even suppress Shaka. Speaking of which, Shaka, who has now turned into an archangel, is obviously much stronger than himself. In addition to her angelic ability, even if Tang Mao can merge, he is not a match at all. But Sulu is suppressing the opponent. Although I don't know what this old guy Sulu has got, but with Shaka's help, at this time, if I don't go up to him and cast a few destruction magics, it would be a shame for the grudges between me and Sulu for so long. But before Tang Mao rushed into the sky, a huge body suddenly appeared in front of him. Zhu Yang blocked in front of him, and all the hair on his body stood up. Damn, little character, get out of the way. Seeing Zhu Yang blocking him, Tang Mao was immediately unhappy. He came here to KO Sulu today. Why are the little characters always fighting with him? Exclamation mark. As if he understood Tang Mao's words, Zhu Yang punched down. His fist couldn't reach Tang Mao, but suddenly his arm stretched out. Swoosh. It means that Tang Mao has mastered the space system. Otherwise, although he wouldn't die from that slap, he would inevitably break a few ribs with such force. This guy is a typical brute force monster. After dodging Zhu Yan's attack, Tang Mao looked back at the nine-tailed fox watching the show. What are you looking at there? Come and hold it for me. Zhu Yan's strength is obviously not something that Apis and the others can compete with. In this case, of course he has to find someone who can fight. Master, this stinky monkey is a brute force monster. Are you willing to let me fight it? I will be beaten. Who would have thought that the nine-tailed fox, who usually refuses to admit his mistakes, would express his weakness in that delicate voice at this moment? Damn, he is not stupid. How could he not see that this damn fox didn't want to waste his energy and would definitely let him face Zhu Yan alone? Ah. At the same time, Zhu Yan slapped him again. Melting flame pillar. Tang Mao didn't dodge this time, but quickly completed the Fire Star Palace. The Star Palaces were connected, and a huge pillar of fire emerged from his side and hit Zhu Yan's palm directly. Boom. I don't know what the claws of this thing are made of. The pillar of fire that melted everything only burned it, but it didn't destroy it. Fortunately, he took the attack. Although some masters are ordered by contracted beasts, he has to show his level, just because of the fox's master. Thunderbolt. After blocking the opponent's attack, Tang Mao moved in an instant, and came to Zhu Yan's front. Then the thunderbolt, like a huge firework, exploded everywhere in it. Boom boom boom. Exclamation mark. However, Zhu Yan's claws are not only thick, but his body is also very solid. The thunder explosion at such a close distance only burned his hair. Bang, bang. Because Tang Mao was right in front of his body, Zhu Yan seemed to want to slap him to death, and his big hands kept slapping his body. It was because he was fast enough that he was not slapped by him. He could see why this dead fox didn't do it himself. It turned out that it was not because he didn't want to help, but because the other party had no choice. Zhu Yan was obviously a totem beast with thick flesh and strong strength, and it seemed to be immune to the attacks of dimensional magic. Under the same level, the nine-tailed fox really had no way to deal with it. Leaping up, Tang Mao moved in an instant, and came to its head. Damn it, even if you are a piece of diamond, I will dig a hole in you today. If such a totem beast was beaten into a contract by Sulu, Tang Mao didn't believe it at all. I always feel that this thing just likes to do evil with Sulu. After all, when Sulu called it out, there was no rejection in its eyes, but respectful. Such a totem beast is simply a shame for the Chinese totem clan. In order to do evil, it even recognized the master at will. And the master it recognized was not itself. Damn it. Thunder punishment. 5 thunders hit the top of the head. The thunder gathered again. The bombing just now failed to cause any actual damage to Zhu Yan. This time Tang Mao chose to hit it hard on its head. 5 pillars of lightning were all locked on its huge head. Zhu Yan naturally would not let Tang Mao make a hole in its head at will. Its big hands were about to slap it on the head. This thing was really not afraid of slapping itself to death. Dark execution ground. Thunder still needed to accumulate power, so Tang Mao naturally couldn't let it slap it down. Once he dodged, the thunder that came down now would not cause much damage to it at all. The black energy instantly wrapped Zhu Yan and him in it. Seeing this, the shadow evil directly merged into the dark domain. As the black domain unfolded, the shadow evil army emerged one after another, and then the black chains were put on Zhu Yan's arms one by one. Not only that, but there were dense chains all around. Sure. The chains tied Zhu Yan up one by one. Even if it wanted to move, it could only move slowly. But even so, Tang Mao was quite surprised. You know, after the black domain was opened, the shadow evil kept planting shadow nails around its body. Even with the help of the shadow evil army, it still couldn't make Zhu Yan unable to move at all. This is simply too much. In the dark domain, the power of elemental magic itself was suppressed, a very strong suppression. It would take even longer for the thunder to accumulate successfully. This is why Tang Mao summoned the shadow evil army. Unfortunately, even if the shadow evil army was used, the opponent could not be restricted. However, he had no other choice but to continue to accumulate power. Zhu Yan was obviously impatient with this group of flies. His body was shining with golden light. Those shadow generals who could still pull the chains were suddenly thrown and floated up one by one. Exclamation mark. And then, a sound wave suddenly burst out from its mouth. The sound wave was invisible and intangible, but at the place where it roared, thousands of shadow generals turned into black gas in an instant, and scattered in this black area. Among them, there were not only shadow generals, but even shadow commanders. Its roar caused its shadow evil army to lose 1/5 directly. After one arm was freed, it put its sturdy palm on the chain on the other arm, wiped and grabbed. The next moment, another group of shadow evil army was caught. Fuck. After seeing this scene, Tang Mao didn't care about continuing to accumulate power, and directly landed the thunder. At the same time, the black domain dissipated instantly, and the shadow evil king also withdrew the black army back to the dark plane. Boom. The moment the dark domain dissipated, 3 lightning bolts were full of thunder, while the other 2 lightning bolts were very thin. And although he failed to kill him with one blow, this wave of bombing finally had an effect. Hearing Zhu Yan's roar of pain, Tang Mao was dozens of miles away in an instant. The shadow evil also returned to his body. After being bombed, Zhu Yan's eyes were red, and he turned the pain into strength, and rushed towards Tang Mao frantically. It seemed that he would not stop until he was torn into pieces. Moo. At this time, Fei Lion and Changming Shenio flew to help. Fei Lion was at odds with Zhu Yan, and Changming Shenio was Tang Mao's most loyal bird brother. Seeing that he was about to be attacked, of course he stood up immediately. However, an invincible monarch and a supreme monarch, in front of the mad Zhu Yan, isn't it just a matter of a slap? Just a slap. The 2 birds flew away. Zhu Yan slapped them away with one blow, and then continued to rush towards Tang Mao. Ice for thousands of miles. Tang Mao was not prepared to fight head-on with this kind of thick-skinned and pure power demon. He can fight in close combat, but close combat also requires separation of demons. Before, because of the falling of ice and snow, this place was like the southernmost land. Now that ice magic is used, the power of ice element naturally condenses immediately. A huge ice sculpture condensed in the sky. It only took Zhu Yan 3 seconds to freeze him, and then a bang sound was heard. Zhu Yan was frozen, but it was only 3 seconds. I don't know what this damn ape ate to grow up, but it was so fierce. Tang Mao was still completing the superclass fusion of thunder and fire, but the opponent had already killed him in front of his face. Open your palms, and then close them with all your strength. The attraction caused by its palms made it impossible for Tang Mao to use space magic to dodge. This was the first time he encountered such a situation. But, at this moment, the Killing Jade in Tang Mao's body suddenly showed its power. Green light flashed, and a mighty Killing Soul shadow appeared above Tang Mao. Zhu Yan, whose eyes were already red, stopped the moment he saw the Killing Soul shadow. After getting the chance, Tang Mao immediately moved away from the palms, and the Killing Jade Soul shadow also dissipated at the same time. Zhu Yan felt like he was being played as a monkey. It was not afraid of killing, but was just a little shocked when it saw the Killing Soul shadow just now. As for whether it was really not afraid, or pretending not to be afraid, it was unclear. After being shocked, Zhu Yan was even more furious, and rushed towards Tang Mao again, ignoring everything. Fortunately, Tang Mao had completed the fusion of thunder and fire. This time, he not only did not run, but also hit him like a meteorite again. After the thunder and fire soul shadow was completely destroyed, Tang Mao escaped. Although the power of his collision could be doubled, the price was also extremely high. If he was not careful, he would be shattered to pieces. Moreover, he did not believe that Zhu Yan's body hardness could be stronger than the magic that surpassed the forbidden spell. Bang! The moment the thunder and fire shadow collided with Zhu Yan, the entire sky was covered with dense marks of fragmentation, and Dubei below was immediately shaken. Above the sky, Sulu, who was completely filled with black energy, was constantly dismantling Shaka's wings. Originally, as archangels, they were born to suppress the forbidden spell wizards. No matter what kind of forbidden spell wizard, they would never be their opponents, and they didn't even need to practice to stand at the top. But today, Sulu completely defeated the angels with his own strength. Even Shaka seemed to be in danger. Looking at Shaka's appearance, Sulu laughed wantonly and said, "You angels who rely on inheritance are obviously not worthy of ruling the world. I, Sulu, who have climbed to the top step by step, are the most suitable. The road to conquering the world begins with you." When Sulu was laughing wildly, he suddenly felt that his soul seemed to be attacked by something. Chapter 790 Termination of the Contract. Turning his head, Sulu finally understood why his soul was suddenly traumatized. The extremely powerful Zhu Yan was also severely injured. Moreover, he looked like he would die at any time. Seeing this, Sulu directly chose to cut off the contractual relationship with Zhu Yan. This sudden termination made Zhu Yan, who was about to die, completely fall into despair. Tang Mao looked at Sulu's decisiveness and admired him. If this kind of ruthless madman hadn't met himself, maybe he could really succeed. Zhu Yan was abandoned, and it didn't even resist, allowing the thunder and fire to pour into its body. As for its abandonment of resistance, Tang Mao didn't mean to show mercy. When it chose to surrender to Sulu instead of itself, its death was already determined. As a holy totem, it also needs to pay for its own choice. Once Zhu Yan died, its huge totem source power was naturally absorbed by the Killing. Without anyone blocking the way, Tang Mao took off directly and came to the high altitude battlefield. "Be careful, his power is strange." Shijie looked at Tang Mao weakly and said. To be honest, she never thought that Tang Mao could defeat so many top-ranked people and solve a forbidden spell. In this world, powerful power is not only possessed by angels. As for the forbidden spells he possesses, they are nothing in front of me, Tang Mao said, and he had come to the front of Sulu. Sulu looked at Tang Mao, and the killing intent in his eyes was not concealed. But he smiled and said, "I, Sulu, have never regretted anything in my life, but that time in the volcanic archipelago, I missed the best opportunity to kill you. I didn't expect that in such a short time, you have grown to the point where you are now. A mage who can complete the forbidden spell independently is not good enough." This growth rate really scared Sulu. "Do you think you can kill me?" Tang Mao smiled disdainfully. "Not to mention the volcanic archipelago, even if it is the Tyrant Mountains, without the Black Dragon Emperor, Sulu may not be his opponent if he fights alone. Powerful power is not just yours. Come on, let me see your demon." Sulu said calmly. If you want to learn from the demon, the key is whether you are worthy of it. Tang Mao taunted. Looking for death. Sulu was really angry. Facing Tang Mao, all kinds of grievances filled his mind in an instant. Sulu had never wanted someone to die so much. Forbidden Thunder. As soon as he made a move, it was a powerful forbidden technique. As the highest power in Asia, Sulu could control forbidden techniques with just a word. Thunderbolt. Seeing Sulu playing with him, Tang Mao was naturally not afraid. In other magic systems, he might not be enough, but the three systems of thunder, ice, and fire, and the heavenly species he possessed, were already the top existences. In this case, can he still be suppressed by others? Boom. After a burst of thunder, Tang Mao's deep purple thunder directly penetrated Sulu's black and purple forbidden thunder. Even with the blessing of forbidden techniques, it was obviously not enough compared to his absolutely domineering thunder. However, Sulu did not expect to surpass Tang Mao in the grade of thunder. The attack just now was just to delay the arrival of the forbidden spell. Facing the impact of Tang Mao's residual thunder, he casually used a shield magic tool. One look at the grade shows that it is top notch. Relying on the defense of this magic tool, after dissolving Tang Mao's thunder, Sulu dodged in the distance. Then the silver light was completed, and the space energy cannon bombarded Tang Mao. Space Gate. Tang Mao has almost all the magic systems that Sulu has. Although his cultivation is not as high as his, it is just a collision of super level magic, and he is not afraid at all. Boom. After the two silver lights collided with each other, the figures of the two disappeared at the same time. Just when Sulu was about to complete the forbidden spell, Shajaya suddenly came to kill him. Although she was shocked by Tang Mao's strength, Sulu was not a Western philosopher, and she did not think that Tang Mao could defeat him. So, after adjusting her breath, Shajaya came to help. Angel Light Sword. The holy white feather flashed with dazzling light. A long sword appeared in Shaka's hand at some point. The tip of the sword pointed directly at Sulu, and then turned into a huge light blade. The moment the light blade was raised and chopped down, the forbidden spell that was chanting was about to be completed, but at this moment, Shaka chopped it down with a sword. But when this sword fell, even the surrounding space was immediately in an extremely unstable state. Sulu didn't even have a chance to escape, and was hit by a sword. Tang Mao looked at Sulu, who was hit by a sword, and stopped the fusion of magic. Shaka's sword just now was powerful enough to severely injure an emperor. Sulu was hit without any defense, and he didn't think this old guy could continue to fight. It can be said that it is absolutely a miracle that he didn't die. In Bay, ordinary people can't see this high altitude battlefield. After all, what they are stepping on is already the clouds. Fighting above this thick cloud layer, where can ordinary people see it? Some superclass mages with strong mental power can only see some situations. If they use displacement magic, they can hardly see clearly. Only the forbidden spells in Bay can see clearly. The arrogant Sulu finally welcomed the judgment of the angel. Although the angel did not defeat him alone, there were few people in the entire Asian Magic Association who wanted to challenge the angel and control the magic associations of the other 4 continents except Sulu. Just when everyone thought that Sulu had been defeated and doomed to perish, black cloud suddenly condensed above the clouds. This black cloud not only covered the clouds, but also completely covered the hundreds of miles of Bay City in black. Shajaya thought she had solved Sulu, and was about to express her gratitude to Tang Mao, but suddenly a black javelin flew out from where Sulu was. Although Shajaya's reaction speed was not slow, and although she used her angel power to resist the penetration of this shot, the dark power seemed to penetrate everything, completely defeating all of Shajaya's defenses, and the last shot directly penetrated her shoulder and even directly penetrated her angel's wings. You know, the biggest reliance of the angels in the holy city is their wings, but now the wings are pierced. Even if they have a strong recovery ability, they will definitely not be able to recover in a short time. Ha 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 ha. After the black spear pierced Shaka, Sulu's unpleasant laughter also came out. Chapter 791 Tang Mao vs Sulu. The black mist dissipated, and Sulu's figure also appeared in the clouds. At this time, his body was emitting powerful black energy. And this dark energy is still constantly improving Sulu's strength, and even this power gives Tang Mao a very familiar feeling. At this time, Sulu has surpassed the primary emperor. When he continued to spread his dark power, Tang Mao also knew the source of this power. Isn't this the feeling that the Dark King once gave him? I really didn't expect that you, Sulu, would also make a deal with the Dark King of the Dark Plane. Aren't you afraid that he will hook your soul to the Dark Plane and dispose of it at will? What do you know? Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have some strength. Do you really understand this world? The Sahara Desert, the extreme south, the underworld, the Dark Plane, the Summoning Plane. You are just a child who is still wet behind the ears. Fighting with me, Sulu, your fate has long been doomed. Sulu was high above, as if at this moment, the human world had been trampled under his feet. Don't embarrass me like this, I know much more than you do. Tang Mao said with disdain. What an arrogant boy. If you hadn't ruined my plan so many times, maybe I could still keep you for my use, but now. Sulu sneered, with murderous intent in his eyes. You must die. Stop talking nonsense. You have been wanting to kill me for a long time. Can you do it? Tang Mao said with contempt. You are looking for death. Sulu shouted angrily, not even caring about Shaka, and casually shot out a black spear. This black spear was obviously not condensed by the ordinary magic energy. When the spear flew over, Tang Mao felt as if he couldn't move at all. Even if his own strength was already able to counter the forbidden spell, it was obviously not enough in front of the Middle Emperor. However, Sulu had used the power that did not belong to him, so Tang Mao would naturally not hide the power he controlled. Buzz buzz. A beam of blood red light shot up into the sky, and then Apis and the nine-tailed fox outside were forcibly brought back to the contract space in an instant. The next moment, a series of soul shadows appeared behind Tang Mao. These soul shadows were the nine-tailed fox, the Lord of Shadow Evil, Apis, the Snow Girl, Yanji, Fengji, and Ziohei. In a short moment, his momentum even gave people a feeling that he was stronger than Sulu. Even Sulu was suppressed by Tang Mao at this time. Those black spears, before they approached Tang Mao, just a glance, were melted into black mist by his flames and scattered everywhere. Fei Lion and Changming Shenio looked at Tang Mao's changes, and they were all shocked. You know, they are totem beasts, which belong to the ancestors of mankind. After all, aren't the humans who first sheltered them their ancestors? But no matter what kind of human being, they have never shown such a terrifying pressure. This is your demonic power. It turns out to be black magic. Since it is black magic, then in my opinion, it is nothing more than that. Sulu was shocked by the power that Tang Mao burst out. He was also inexplicably afraid, but at this time, he didn't lose the battle. He pretended to be calm, and looked at Tang Mao, as if he was a weak chicken and I could do whatever I wanted. Why, are you scared? Looking at Sulu, Tang Mao said in a light voice. Dark wave pulse. Sulu didn't want to talk too much, because he found that saying one more word to Tang Mao would affect his mood. Although Tang Mao's momentum did make him feel afraid, but with the same dark attribute, what could compete with the dark energy bestowed by the Dark King? That's right, as Tang Mao thought, Sulu did get the increase in power from the Dark Plane. Moreover, the source of this power came from a transaction. As for what kind of deal it was, no one knew. However, he almost had half of the power of the Dark King, and no matter what kind of magic or black magic, in his dark domain, the power would be abnormally reduced. In this case, Sulu was naturally confident. He believed that the Dark King would not brag about himself. After all, he was the master of the Dark Plane. But what Sulu didn't know was that there had been more than one Dark King from ancient times to the present. Bang, bang bang bang. After the two humans simultaneously possessed the power beyond the primary emperor, the battle also changed. It was no longer a lot of time to chant magic, but fists collided and fought each other. However, the power of their punches was enough to collapse the mountains and crack the earth. Thunder and fire appeared on Tang Mao's fists from time to time. Although the dark domain did suppress a lot, because of the demonization, his own heavenly seeds were brought to the extreme. The elemental power also reached a peak. What's more, there are 3 elemental pets in his body. They are the original elemental power of this world. with their existence, not to mention here, even in the dark plane, his power will not be sealed. As for his shadow system, it was not something that the Dark King could control as early as the first evolution. What's more, he awakened the Shadow Evil Lord and merged it into a member of his body. The restrictions of the Dark King were useless to him. After the two of them collided several times like meteors, Sulu felt the pressure. A lot of pressure. He didn't expect that he still couldn't step on Tangmao, even after using his strongest trump card. Even these few confrontations actually injured him. In the dark domain, under the protection of dark energy, Sulu was actually injured. Exclamation mark. This is impossible. This is impossible. Sulu shouted in disbelief, and the suppression of darkness became stronger and stronger. Although Tangmao had been suppressing Sulu, he knew very well that, if he wanted to really beat Sulu, he had to expand his own domain. But even though he had already turned into a demon, he still couldn't open his own domain in Sulu's domain. The elemental power within a radius of hundreds of miles had been completely dispelled by the darkness. Looking at Sulu rushing over like crazy, Tangmao's lightning and fire continued to gather. Even without a domain, the fusion under demonization might not be able to break through the tightly wrapped dark energy shield. As Sulu rushed over, the surrounding black fog also turned into black dragons. These were not western dragons, but black dragons from the east. Although he knew that this was condensed by Sulu with the help of the domain, Tangmao was still surprised when he saw these 9 black dragons. It was too realistic. They seemed to be real. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 792 Triple Realm. The black dragons came one after another with their fangs and claws bared. Tangmao suddenly broke away from his body and then entangled with those black dragons. Although there were only 7 soul shadows, these black dragons were not as powerful as they looked. In short, they were useless. Under the slaughter of their own soul shadows, these black dragons turned into black mist and rifted in the air in almost a moment. Sulu didn't seem to care much about this, because at the beginning, he didn't plan to rely on these black dragons to hurt Tangmao. When the black dragon rushed out, his body was completely transformed into a black mist, as if he had no entity. Then, he merged into the darkness, as if his traces were all in the field. Tangmao sensed everywhere, but without any exception, he couldn't detect where Sulu was. Swish. What's more terrifying is that the opponent's attack also made him lose his perception. A black spear appeared at the back of his head at some point. Fortunately, he had rich practical experience. When the tip of the spear came through, he turned back and blasted it with a thunder fist, shattering it. But he was a little too strong. The power of this black spear was obviously not as strong as the spear that pierced through Shaka before. Swish. At the same time, another black spear shot over from the direction he was facing before. Purgatory Fire Dragon. Tangmao punched the fire dragon casually, but the imagined shattering did not appear before his eyes. Instead, the black spear directly penetrated his fire dragon. Space Gate. It was obvious that Sulu was playing a psychological game with him. The power of this shot was obviously many times stronger than the previous one. Bang. Because the space gate was penetrated by one shot, Tangmao's hands instantly showed the 2 elemental forces of thunder and fire, and he grasped the penetrating spear tip. This grip made him realize why his resistance was so weak. The dark power contained in it was too strong. In addition, since he was in the dark realm, Tangmao could feel that he was running out of energy. The tip of the spear continued to spread out from the palm of his hand, and there were bursts of sparks of light around him, and any point was enough to make the space vibrate. Swish. Just when he was struggling to defend himself, another spear pierced through him from behind. Although he couldn't see what was happening behind him, the souls behind him could see it clearly. This was also the main reason why he was the first to react to the attacks several times. Black Dragon Python Armor. Knowing that he couldn't block it, the black spear behind him also pierced through him. For the first time, Tangmao put on armor magic tools while he was demonized. Speaking of a current demonization, in fact, except for the emergence of some animal patterns on his face, the increased hardness of his body, and the soul behind him, he is not much different from a human. Moreover, magic tools can also be used. Bang! The moment he put on the magic tool, there was a crashing sound behind him. The piercing feeling, even under the protection of the black dragon python armor and the demonized system, was so painful. Boom. Boom boom. While enduring the pain, the elemental power that had been searching for half a day finally gathered together. Triple domain. It was originally dark, but suddenly purple lightning, red fire waves, and blue ice began to condense around Tangmao. The black spear was shattered in this elemental domain in an instant. Not only that, the original dark cover also slowly shrank, and finally the three elemental domains of thunder, fire, and ice completely drove away the darkness. Without the support of the dark domain, although Sulu was still a mist body, he had no way to hide himself. Ice Phoenix, Fire Phoenix. Seeing Sulu appear, Tangmao was not polite at all. The fusion of ice and fire under the blessing of demonization was so fast that it seemed as easy as completing a super level magic. The difference is that its power is hundreds of times stronger than super class magic. The fusion without the blessing of the devil is already beyond the destruction of the forbidden spell. Under the blessing of the devil, the power of the phoenix fused with ice and fire is so terrifying that even he himself is not sure how terrifying it is. It happened that Sulu was lucky enough to become an experiencer. Looking at the oncoming ice and fire phoenix, Sulu had no way to resist. The dark domain has been dispelled. Without the bonus of the domain, it is equivalent to losing the power of darkness, and he himself is just a forbidden spell mage. No, impossible. Sulu's eyes seemed to pop out, but at this moment, apart from roaring and shouting, he had almost no way to deal with it. The ice and fire phoenix poured into its body. Although it looked like a mist body, he was a person, and could not become a real mist body after all. Boom. Pa. The moment the ice and fire phoenix exploded, the space around was shattered. As for Sulu's roar and shout, they also dissipated between the world with this violent elemental explosion. Just after Tangmao solved Sulu, the shadow evil in his body suddenly trembled. It seemed to be very excited, and it was also it that told Tangmao to grab the energy sphere in the black fog. There was not only Sulu's lifelong cultivation power, but also the power of the Dark King. If you get it, the shadow system of shadow evil and Tangmao will be greatly increased. For something that can improve strength, Tangmao certainly won't let it fly away from his eyes. In a flash, it rushed into the black fog. Sure enough, it saw a black energy ball suspended there. When it saw Tangmao, it seemed to want to escape consciously. Question mark? How could Tangmao do what it wanted? Space wall. He condensed a silver wall and sealed its way. The black energy ball hit the silver wall and could hardly move. This black energy ball was naturally Sulu. Although he lost his body, as long as his soul was immortal, he could still revive with the help of the Dark King and the Dark Plane. But he didn't expect that Tangmao could still chase him after he was already dead. Still want to run? Tangmao moved in an instant to the front of the black energy ball, wrapped it with the power of space, and took it in his hand. Tangmao, I advise you to let me go, otherwise, you will offend the Dark King of the Dark Plane. Although Sulu was panicking, he still looked at Tangmao with a strong and calm look and said, I'm not afraid of the Dark King, even if you are alive, let alone if you are dead. Besides, this is not the Dark Plane. What can he do to me? Tangmao sneered and compressed the space even tighter. Chapter 793 The Dark King arrives. Sulu, who was being held, wanted to say something, but he felt his soul being compressed, causing him to look at Tangmao angrily. When Shajaya, who thought the battle was over, was about to come over, a crack suddenly appeared in the sky. Tangmao, be careful. Seeing this, Shajaya hurriedly reminded him. In fact, Tangmao also noticed the changes and fluctuations in the space without Shajaya's reminder. However, he did not expect that the shattering of the space was forcibly torn apart by someone. Tangmao looked at the crack in the space, and eyeing Sha issued a hostile reminder. It seemed that it was quite interested in the person who came. Ha ha ha, the Dark King is here. Tangmao, your doomsday is here. Ha ha ha. Sulu seemed to have noticed something and was so excited that he couldn't stop. Just based on the reactions of Sulu and Aingsha, Tangmao could guess what was coming. What's more, Sulu's unpleasant laughter had already been heard. The Dark King appeared in the sky, and the darkness that had been dispelled before also gathered again. Tangmao's domain began to shrink instantly. However, under the superposition of the three domains, the Dark King could not dispel it just because he wanted to. Not to mention it's just a clone. Even if his real body comes, it will cost him some price to take you away. Tangmao said, holding Sulu tightly with the power of space. You are looking for death without taking care of Sulu. Tangmao looked at the Dark King. The guy in front of him was obviously not the one he had met on the Parthenon. Even though they looked exactly the same, there was a big difference in their power. Ice Phoenix and Fire Phoenix. Knowing that the other party was not friendly, he was too lazy to talk nonsense and destroyed it as soon as he took action. The moment the Ice Phoenix and Fire Phoenix rushed towards the Dark King was also stunned. It has been unknown for how many years that no one has taken the initiative to attack it, but I didn't expect that humans now dared to challenge him. The black giant sword was raised high in the air, and then it was slashed down with one sword. The invincible Ice Loon and Fire Phoenix were cut in half. Sizzle, sizzle, even the power of the explosion was forcibly absorbed by the black domain. Human, I came here just to take back what this human owes me. Give me his soul and I will leave immediately. The Dark King chopped the Ice and Fire Fusion Loon Phoenix with a sword, looking at Tangmao, and said in a calm voice. His tone was full of unquestionable voices. It seemed that, if Tangmao didn't agree, then the end would be miserable. This is not your dark plane. It's not your turn to run wild. If you want what I have, then come with your ability. Tangmao condensed thunder and fire at the same time. Since the destructive power of ice and fire is insufficient, he will use his strongest thunder and the most violent fire to complete the strongest attack. The Dark King's black eyes can't see joy or anger, but his arrogance has given Tangmao a deep stimulation. Since he embarked on the road of magic, he has not encountered such a thing that doesn't take him seriously. I was completing the magic of the fusion of thunder and fire, but it was unmoved. I want to see if you can easily take this blow. The thunder and fire in the triple element continued to merge into his body, and then Tangmao once again broke through the sky and hit the Dark King. When the soul shadow broke away from Tangmao's body and hit him, the Dark King suddenly raised his sword and stood in front of him. I have to admit that this time, the impact force made him feel a little threatened. Sure. The black giant sword in the Dark King's hand fell down again, and after the blade hit the soul shadow, it suddenly banged and began to shatter. The power after the fusion of thunder and fire is obviously much stronger than the ice and fire just now. Bang! The soul shadow penetrated everything and passed by the Dark King and rushed through the huge black barrier in one go. Although the Dark King was still unscathed, at least he broke his defense. The one in front of him was not invincible. As the darkness broke through a corner, the elemental power was fully released, and Yunlu disappeared in an instant. The mages lying on the ground in Debay City and the ordinary people who survived had already seen the situation in the sky clearly. Each of them was extremely desperate. Today seemed to be the end of Debay City. Before the collision between Tangmao and Sulu, there was a forbidden spell mage below, so they could still resist the power of the magic energy impact. But now, after the Dark King appeared, the ice and fire elemental power that just dispersed almost instantly shattered the barrier below. The explosion that just broke through the dark field made the ground in the entire Debay City fall into pieces. The Debay Tower that people looked up to also became debris and collapsed in Debay City. At this time, Shejia also leaped to the side of Tangmao. Looking at the Dark King in front of her, she was even more vigilant. Unexpectedly, after Sulu's defeat, he would actually attract the god of the Dark Plane. If the other party attacks this world, then mankind will really be in great trouble. Especially now that they need to deal with countless sea monsters, and then there are creatures from the Dark Plane coming. Shejia dare not imagine what kind of purgatory on earth it will be. So she also came to the sky. Maybe she can't help much, but protecting this world has always been the responsibility of their angels. At this time, of course, she can't eat melons. However, in Tangmao's view, Shejia, who has not recovered yet, Can't help even if she comes. You go to protect Feng Xiaolong and take him away from here. He is the hope of all mankind. Don't waste time here. As an angel of the holy city, I have the obligation to protect mankind. I will deal with the Dark King. You go. Shijie looked at Tang Mao. She was very grateful that he could come to Dubei with her. If Tang Mao hadn't come, she would not be able to protect Feng Xiaolong by herself. If she watched Feng Xiaolong die in front of her, she would be a sinner in disguise. Tang Mao shook his head. It was not that he looked down on Shijie. Even if she was not injured, she might not be able to deal with him together, let alone when she was injured and had not recovered. But the angel sister seemed to be determined and had no intention of leaving at all. Seeing this, Tang Mao sent a voice message. Then help me hold him back. I will prepare a big gift for him. Shijie was slightly stunned, looking at Tang Mao in disbelief. Big? So even now, Tang Mao still has reservations? Question mark? Chapter 794, Fighting more and more courageously, 2 in 1. Although it was unknown what other cards Tang Mao had, since Shijie did not choose to leave, she would not retreat. Although the angel wings were not as radiant as before, they could still emit a faint light in the darkness. Before the dark power could cover the sky, it had the power to resist again. The Dark King spoke again. Give me what I want. This is your last chance. It seemed that the Dark King was already a little impatient. If Sulu Sol and the Dark King's dark power were not handed over to him, he would take action. But with just one word from him, Tang Mao was going to hand over Sulu and the dark energy that made the shadow evil restless. How could it be possible? Shijie flew directly to the Dark King, and the holy light emanated from her angel wings. However, when this light shone on the Dark King, it was blocked by an invisible force. I don't know what it means. Seeing this, the Dark King raised his arm, and the black giant sword appeared in his hand again. Then, the Dark King's pure black eyes locked on Shijie's body, and slashed it with a sword. Sure. After feeling the magic power of the Dark King's casual sword, Shaka thought to herself, can an angel or a human fight against the Dark King? Although she felt a little desperate, Shaka still faced the challenge. Even if she was defeated, as an angel in charge of the world, she naturally couldn't retreat at this time. Bang, bang. Shaka was like an egg hitting a rock. She was chopped down by the Dark King's sword and fell outside the city of Debay, creating a huge deep pit. The black sword energy did not turn into air because of Shaka, but fell straight to the city of Debay. Seeing the sword light coming, it felt like the end of the world. In the city of Debay, whether it was the powerful nobles, ordinary mages, or ordinary people, they all felt the fear from the heart. A top-level mage flew out of the city. He completed a light shield, but the angel was chopped down to the ground by a sword, let alone a top-level mage like him. The black sword blade directly penetrated his light and his body, and fell at a high speed. The dignitaries in Debay are not all ambitious people, they do serve the people. With the sacrifice of a top wizard, several wizards rushed to the sky and tried to take the sword. Everyone knows that, if the sword really landed in Debay, it would cause terrible casualties. So, at this time, some wizards who learned magic without forgetting their original intentions also showed their value. But how can the starlight compete with the bright moon? They were penetrated and fell one by one. Almost no one was spared, and all died under this sword light. Just when people were desperate, just when some top wizards and forbidden spell wizards were tired of escaping, Tang Mao's figure suddenly appeared above Debay. The power of the three element of thunder, ice, and fire condensed into a sledgehammer in his hand. Holding the hammer, Tang Mao seemed to step on the air to borrow the force, and rushed straight to the light of the sword blade. Domain superposition. With his loud shout, the three elemental forces of ice, thunder, and fire continued to condense on the hammer. Bang! When he approached the black light blade, he was not pierced and cut down like the previous mages. Instead, the hammer directly shattered the black energy blade. After shattering the energy blade, Tang Mao did not intend to give up and rushed straight into the sky. The black giant sword in the hand of the Dark King was raised high in the air again. The sword just now was just a casual strike. In front of him, these humans were just ants. Tang Mao was just a bigger ant. Sure. Unlike the previous casual sword, this time the Dark King also exerted his strength and directly chopped out 3 energy blades at once. God Thunder Heaven Punishment. Boom. The hammer was swung out, and the thunder emanated from the hammer, and the 3 blades were shattered in one strike. Seeing that his attack failed to stop Tang Mao's advance, the Dark King seemed surprised. The giant sword shrank and held in his hand. The next moment he fell from the sky and stabbed with the sword. 0° ice. The power of thunder was still easing, but the cold air was condensing. Bang. The moment Tang Mao and the Dark King collided in mid-air, ice and snow instantly fell from the sky. But the two of them stood on their sides, and it was unclear who had the advantage for a while. Even among the many planes, there are not many people who can take my sword. As a human, you are the first. The Dark King looked at Tang Mao and said lightly, "Pretend to be a asterisk asterisk asterisk. If it weren't for the Black Dragon Python armor to offset part of the power, if it weren't for the shadow evil protecting his body to prevent the erosion of darkness, Tang Mao would have crashed by now." At this time, how could he still have the mind to listen to his pretense? After a polite greeting, he swung his hammer again dozens of miles away at the place where the Dark King was. Bang! Tang Mao's sudden appearance above the Dark King also startled. Passively swinging his sword to meet the hammer, he also felt the power of thunder pouring into his body. In an instant, the dark energy in the Dark King's body flickered. Seeing this, Tang Mao hurriedly moved away from him. After the Dark King repelled Tang Mao, he felt his own situation with some surprise, and then said, "I didn't expect that the Shadow Evil clan would actually serve you. No wonder you are reluctant to give up what I want." The dark energy ball that Sulu turned into actually has no attraction to the people of this plane. Even if it looks extraordinary, it is not something that humans can do to refine the energy in it. Before, the Dark King was still very confused as to why Tang Mao was unwilling to hand it over. Now he understands that the other party didn't want to hand it over because he knew the energy contained in it. If it was just Sulu's soul, with Tang Mao's strength, the Dark King might have given up and left. After all, this is not the Dark Plane. If you stay here for a long time, it is inevitable that there will be some trouble. But it is not only Sulu's energy, but also his own energy. Sulu wants to use the Dark King to become powerful and rule over humans, and the Dark King is also using Sulu to devour him. Unfortunately, everything should have gone smoothly, but Tang Mao appeared. "Even if there is no shadow evil, I have to give you the things I dropped from killing monsters, just because of your few words. Are you dreaming?" He didn't find it before, but as long as he found it, even if he didn't feel anything, he wouldn't let it run away. The most important thing is that Sulu's soul is still in it. Just based on this point, he can't run away. "Human, you are indeed very strong, so strong that I'm surprised. But you are not my opponent. Give me the things. Otherwise NM asterisk asterisk asterisk." Tang Mao used polite words again. "At this time, you are still talking to me about something?" He won't tolerate his bad habits. What's wrong with the Dark King? Let alone a small clone. Even if one of the 10 Dark Kings came, he might have handed it over. After all, the strength of the original body is at the worst, and even the power he bursts out after the demonization can only reach the top limit of middle-level Emperor. What can I fight with? I dare to fight with the one in front of me, because the other party's strength belongs to the level of a great Emperor. With my special physique, plus the power absorbed by the heavenly seed field of thunder, fire, and ice, I can barely fight. After the demonization, the heavenly seed power of thunder and ice seems to be constantly increasing. It seems that the real power of these two companions has not been fully exerted until now. And just now, with the fusion of the 3 fields, he seemed to have touched the tip of the iceberg. If it weren't for the tacit understanding with Feng Ji, Tang Mao felt that he could fight now, and he would want to go crazy and experiment with the fusion of the 4 fields. At this time, the face of the Dark King was filled with black mist, and his cheeks could not be seen clearly. I don't know what he thought after hearing his polite words. However, after his greeting, he waved his sword again. Bang, bang. The two of them were like meteors, constantly colliding in the sky. The people in Debay were already fleeing. When gods fight, mortals suffer. They had just experienced this. This was not a place for them to stay. Even so, during the escape, because the destructive power they had exploded was too strong, cracks appeared on the ground. Anyone who was not careful would fall into the abyss of the cracks. As for D-Bay, it was even more shattered, as if a demon had invaded. The top leaders of the Asian Magic Association had already fled here. As the top figures in the world, they naturally did not want to die here for no reason. The remaining one or two were either people from Team Sulu who had died, or they were willing to rescue ordinary people in D-Bay. The battle in the sky was not something they could participate in, but rescuing ordinary residents was the duty of a magician. These people did not ignore the safety of tens of thousands of people living in D-Bay because of their high positions and power. As for Feng Xiaolong, who caused the war, he dug Shaijia out of the deep pit where she fell. Shaijia had fainted. With the physique of an angel, her vitality was quite strong. She was not killed by the Dark King with one sword, but if there was no rescue, she would not live long. Feng Xiaolong actually felt guilty. If he hadn't insisted on coming here, would there be so many things there? But then again, he didn't think it was wrong to improve the strength of all humans. Now the sea monsters are rampant, and the land monsters are also ready to move. If there is no way to improve the strength of humans, then the Dark Age is likely to come again. Humans must either evolve and become stronger in the Dark Age, or become history. Feng Xiaolong dragged Shaijia, glanced at Tang Mao, and finally chose to take people away from here. He knew that Tang Mao came to save him, that is, his value in life was still quite great. If he stayed here, he couldn't help or anything. If he was accidentally hit by a random destruction magic of these two, he would probably die without a complete body. So, he decided to run away. Unfortunately, the battle between the Dark King and Tang Mao involved the whole of D-Bay. Within a radius of 100 miles, thunder and sword blades would fall from time to time, all of which were destruction. Looking at a top-level mage not far away, he had to stop again, after being shocked by thunder in his desperate attempt. It was not just Feng Xiaolong. Many people were like this. They were like beasts controlled in a cage. Even if the natural disaster had come, they had no chance to escape because of the two gods fighting in the sky. No one knew whether the two would suddenly appear in front of them. Even if they collided, the residual power would be enough to make the superclass mage explode and die. Tang Mao had fought with the Dark King for dozens of rounds at this time. From the beginning, he couldn't block a single blow, but now, they were evenly matched. The power of the devil seemed to have no limit, and the more they fought, the more ferocious they became. Of course, if it was just the power of the devil, it would naturally not be able to do this. In addition to the power of the devil, the more important thing was the elemental power in the body. In the previous battle with the Sea King skeleton, Tang Mao felt that his own strength had been exerted to the extreme. However, he did not expect that he only exerted the power that had not been digested in his body, but the power of the heaven seed had not been fully released. In the battle with the Dark King, the three elements of ice, thunder, and fire seemed to have become a part of himself. With a thought, he could burst out powerful elemental energy. While all the heaven seeds were filled in his body, he was like a fighting machine with inexhaustible power. The Dark King also went from just disdainful to now concentrating on the battle. Because of the shadow evil, the Dark King was infused with elemental power several times, and this was not the Dark Plane, so his power could not be exerted as it should have, and for a while he really fell behind. That's right, although the Dark King in front of him is a great emperor, his power cannot be perfectly exerted. The power exerted is only at the level of middle-level peak emperor. In fact, in terms of power output, he and Tang Mao are the same. The most terrifying thing is that Tang Mao's power is still increasing. If he continues to fight, he may not be able to extract his energy back, and he may be seriously injured. Although that power is extremely important to him, what's the use if he doesn't live to enjoy it? The Dark King stopped, then looked at Tang Mao and said, "Human, you accepted the help of the Shadow Evil clan, which means you are against the entire Dark Plane. Although I can't do anything to you today, one day you will be punished by the darkness." Seeing that the Dark King stopped attacking, Tang Mao did not continue to attack. After hearing what he said, Tang Mao understood. This guy is scared. He actually said something harsh. "I didn't expect the Dark King to do such a stupid thing. Don't fight anymore, then get out." Tang Mao's voice was also flat, as if he didn't care about his threat at all. If the Dark King is really omnipotent and can kill people in another plane, what about other creatures in those planes? He also has his fears. Since he can't go out easily, what is he afraid of? Who doesn't know how to say harsh words? Although the Dark King was very angry about this, he didn't say anything in the end. He tore open the space rift again and then turned around and left. Chapter 795, called the God Species. 2 in 1. The Dark King turned and left. Sulu, who was held in Tang Mao's arms, was simply dumbfounded. Being held in Tang Mao's hand, Sulu felt that he was really finished this time. He wanted to kill Tang Mao, but why didn't Tang Mao want to kill him? The saddest thing was that Sulu's strength might end up being a wedding dress for Tang Mao. Unfortunately, he didn't even have a chance to resist. Looking at Sulu and the black sphere in his hand, Tang Mao sneered, "Sulu, why don't you scream? Humph, the winner is the king and the loser is the bandit." Sulu seemed to have accepted his fate. At this time, he no longer looked downcast as he asked for help before. Instead, he showed his true colors as an emperor. "Don't pretend. You are already going to become my nourishment. What's the point of pretending? If you beg me, maybe I can let you live a little longer." Tang Mao dispersed the demonic power and restored his original appearance. But this time was different from the past. He was not exhausted at all, and he was not covered with scars. Instead, he was in a peak state as good as before. This time, he fought Sulu and the Dark King successively. He thought he would be extremely weak, but he didn't expect that he didn't have any difficult and complicated diseases. On the contrary, the elemental magic seemed to be integrated into his body. The release of thunder, ice, and fire, whether it was super level magic or elementary magic, seemed to no longer need to draw star tracks, just depend on the degree of his strength. Sulu looked at Tang Mao and sneered, "I can't survive, but you are not only provoking the Asian Magic Association, but also challenging the controllers of this world. Even if you can leave here alive today, the magic associations of the 4 continents and the holy city, do you think they will allow someone like you to survive?" He naturally understood this point. He was not only challenging Sulu, it was also the royal power established by the Magic Association over the years. However, Sulu summoned the Dark King, and he finally defended Debay. Before he was sure whether he could still use this special power, he thought they would not do anything to him. Moreover, at the moment, Feng Xiaolong's creation of fusion magic is not necessarily a good thing. At least now, it is difficult to promote it on a large scale. Tang Mao slowly landed where Feng Xiaolong and Shijia were. As he landed, a group of speakers, counselors, and officials of the Asian Magic Association, big and small, surrounded him. Looking at these people, Tang Mao couldn't help but feel a little confused. They wouldn't think that they were weak after 2 consecutive battles, right? Among the crowd, Zuhu and Iao walked to the front and looked at Tang Mao with extremely complicated eyes. There was hatred, unwillingness, and powerlessness in his eyes. Tang Mao, no matter what, Sulu is the speaker of the Asian Magic Association. I think you should explain what happened between you. Zuhu and Iao hesitated for a while and said, "The lord of a continent was killed just like that. If he was allowed to leave without even an explanation, wouldn't the whole world be in chaos? Don't you see that Sulu has surrendered to the Dark King of the Dark Plane?" Tang Mao asked back. If it was because they were on Yunlu before, some people couldn't see the fierce battle above. But later, the destruction caused by the explosion of the power of both sides turned the sky into a clear sky. Not to mention the super class mages. Even some high level mages could almost see the situation above. As the speaker of Asia, how could you sell your soul to the Dark King? Besides, the Dark King's appearance should be because you took something from him. At this time, a middle-aged man spoke up. "What do you care about what I took from him? Humph, kid, do you know what you are doing? You are declaring war on the whole world. You are fighting with the world." Bang! Before the middle-aged man could finish speaking, suddenly his body emitted the power of the 2 element of lightning and fire. Tang Mao glanced at the dead chatterbox, then looked at Zuhu and Iao and others and said, "I think this person should be Sulu's minion. Since Sulu has sold his soul to join the Dark King, this kind of stuff is obviously tainted with things that should not be tainted. What do you think? The others looked at the middle-aged man, who exploded with a bang beside him, and were stunned. This ability is simply unheard of. Moreover, looking at Tang Mao's nonchalant appearance and the fluctuations of magic in his hands, it is obvious that the person who just made a move is him. I thought Tang Mao was already weak after 2 battles, but who knew that he easily solved a full cultivation superclass mage. The people who were still aggressive before have unconsciously retreated at this moment. Zuhu and Iao did not move. Although he was also surprised, he was sure that Tang Mao would not attack him. After all, he is now the one who holds a high position in the headquarters of the Asian Magic Association. Although he was nominated, it was his own ability to get to this point. Tang Mao did not intend to touch him. He looked at the crowd and said, "Do you have anything else to ask? It's best to ask enough at once. If there are any minions of Sulu that have not been dealt with, you can tell me. I will never be soft-hearted to such lackeys who betrayed the race." After he said this, who dared to talk nonsense? When they started the war, they all wanted to escape for their lives. But they failed to run away. Now they are just curious about what is contained in the black energy sphere. It is commonly known as taking advantage of the fire to rob. However, not only did they fail to rob, but they were also threatened. But who dared to say a word? You go. Zuhu and Iao saw that no one said anything, and finally spoke. No matter what the other forces think, today's matter can only be done according to Tang Mao's words. Sulu betrayed the race. To put it bluntly, in this world, fists are the hard truth. Maybe if all of them acted together, they would have a chance to take down Tang Mao, but judging from the sacrifice just now, these people no longer have the courage. Tang Mao turned around and picked up Shajia, looking at Feng Zhaolong and said, "Let's go, Lao Feng." At the beginning, Feng Zhaolong still wanted to promote his fusion magic, but now it seems that he has given up. These people really don't care about the situation in the world at all. They only care about the power in their hands. The two left, and from beginning to end, the senior executives of the Magic Association did not say a word. Outside Debay, on Fei Lan's body, Tang Mao, thank you this time. If you hadn't come, maybe I would have died, and the method of fusion magic would have been lost. Feng Zhaolong looked at Tang Mao and said, "You're welcome. I didn't save you. I saved it for the military magicians of our country." Tang Mao replied in a calm voice. Feng Zhaolong paused. Then he looked at him and said, "You mean, my fusion magic can still be realized? Although not everyone can get this method, it can be recommended to us. In this way, your creation is not useless. Although you may not be worshipped by the world's magicians, you will definitely be recorded in the history books." Tang Mao nodded. With the enhanced strength, it is a guarantee for himself. Moreover, unlike the forces such as the Tribunal, the Magic Association, the Hunter Alliance, and the aristocratic family, this is the country's own army and the country's own power. Their country is facing the Siren Dynasty. No one knows how long this war will last, and no one knows how many people will be killed or injured during this period. The promotion of this fusion magic may reduce the casualties by half. Feng Zhaolong nodded, and then said, "I know. After returning home, I will apply for it." As he said that, he looked at Tang Mao again. He wanted to ask something, but hesitated. "Ask whatever you want to ask. I can have such a strong power thanks to the fusion magic gloves you made for Mo Fan." Hearing this, Feng Zhaolong said, "How did you make that mage explode? And I just now. My 3 element of thunder, ice, and fire have been further improved. As long as people have these 3 elements, their own elemental system will be ignited by me within my domain." To put it bluntly, after Tang Mao opened the triple domain, anyone who has thunder, ice, and fire magic is like pressing a time bomb in their stomach. And he only needs to activate this button to make them fall directly. Of course, if the opponent has a top grade soul seed and is powerful enough, he may only be severely injured. But the previous mage did not seem to be a major in thunder and fire, and did not have a top grade soul seed, so he exploded directly. One step further, Feng Zhaolong was shocked when he heard this. An existence above the heavenly seed. What should it be? I call it a divine seed. His purple sky divine thunder and 0° ice have grown to their strongest state. This is his companion divine seed. Before, it was just because of insufficient strength that he did not fully exert it. But now it is different. After the demonization and the battle with the Dark King, he found that under his mobilization of the element of thunder and ice, even Kyanli had to absorb them obediently. As for the fire element, it was still a little bit lacking. It belongs to the level of a demigod seed. What about Shaka? Feng Zhaolang looked at the seriously injured Shaka again, full of guilt. At this time, he was no longer in the mood to brag, but full of worry. After all, if it weren't for him, Shaka wouldn't have been so seriously injured. Her body is not comparable to those Dubei mages. Even if the Dark King's sword is very powerful, she won't die, as long as the wings don't disappear. However, I have to take her to Parthenon. After leaving Dubei, you can go back by yourself. Feng Zhaolang followed him out, and Sulu died too quickly. No one else knew about the fusion magic. Even if his minions knew, they couldn't hide now, so how could they dare to have any ideas? Feng Zhaolang also knew that it would be difficult for Shaka to be cured in China. But Parthenon's words were different. Keep the gloves. The material of this pair of gloves is made of the best materials. After returning, I will make a magic weapon for Mo-fan. Feng Zhaolang said again. Tang Mao was not polite. Although he had mastered some of the ways of fusion, the effect would be different if the gloves were added. It was like the superposition of the three realms. If there were no gloves, no Snow Girl, and Flame Girl, he would not be able to complete the fusion of the three systems. After leaving Dubei, the two went their separate ways. Outside the Parthenon, Tang Mao himself did not expect that he would return again just a few days after leaving here. And this time, Ashurua did not know that Tang Mao had come again. When she knew it, Tang Mao had already appeared in front of him holding the unconscious Shajia. What are you doing? And isn't she the angel Gabriel from the holy city? Ashurua looked at Tang Mao and Shajia in his arms, a little confused. She didn't know why this guy was together with the angel of the holy city. Moreover, who was the other party fighting for with this look of being about to die at any time? Let someone save her first. If she is saved, and there is a support from the angel of the holy city, I think he will be one step closer to the position of the goddess. Hearing this, Ashurua had to ask someone to arrange rescue first. Not everyone can be cured at the Parthenon, but the people brought by Ashurua, who is an angel in charge of the world, naturally did their best to heal. After handing Shajia to the professional healing mage, Ashurua returned to her boudoir, but Tang Mao had already disappeared. Fortunately, there was a note on the table. After handing Shajia to Ashurua, he went to the old place for a treat. Sulu's dark energy, the changes in various systems after the battle, and Zhu Yan's totem source power. Tang Mao felt that this time, he seemed to be able to cross the step that ordinary geniuses could hardly cross in their lives. After Ashurua read the note left by Tang Mao, and learned that he was in retreat, she had to choose to wait. After he came out, she asked what happened. 3 days passed by waiting like this. During these 3 days, the international community also told about the Holy City. For example, Sulu, as the chairman of the Asian Magic Association, betrayed the clan and surrendered to the Dark King of the Dark Plane. For example, the news that he was finally discovered and sanctioned in time. But no matter what the news was, there was no trace of Tang Mao, but the angel Shajia was mentioned. The fact that the people of the world know is that the Holy City angel Gabriel appeared and sanctioned Sulu. Apart from that, there is nothing else. P.S. Let me explain here that the Great Emperor written last night is a high level 1. Then the Emperor setting is such a pseudo-emperor, orthodox, medium, high level, and roof. Finally, let me explain that the ocean roof mentioned by the protagonist before is not the ones of the Siren dynasty. The world pattern is originally large, and the life of the demons is also extremely long, especially the monarchs and emperors, who can sleep for 1,000 or 800 years without eating or drinking. Just like the totem creatures, I don't know how many years they have existed. The protagonists Thunder and Ice are the highest auxiliary from the beginning, that is, above the heavenly species, but they slowly exert their power with strength. I was a bit anxious at the beginning, and went straight to soul planting, which was a bit hasty. It's my fault. Chapter 796 Dark Blessing, Rewards and Extra Updates. As soon as Ashiruya saw these notices, she immediately guessed that it was probably Tangmao who made a big fuss in the holy city. As for how Gabriel was involved, she didn't know, but it was certain that it was definitely not her who sanctioned Sulu. According to Ashiruya's information channels, she also learned about the Dark King's arrival in this plane. To be honest, she was not very surprised that Tangmao fought with Sulu and the Asian Magic Association. But when she learned that Tangmao had a big battle with the Dark King, and it was still a draw, the shock in her heart could not be calmed down for a long time. Dark King. That is a godlike existence that endowed humans with black magic. Ashiruya has always known that Tangmao is very strong, but she has never known how strong he is. In fact, even now, she is still in a vague state about Tangmao's strength, but it is certain that he can fight with the Dark King without a clear winner, which means that his combat power has reached the top among humans. However, in a relatively speaking situation, it also means that he will completely stand on the opposite side of the Magic Association. As the strongest force in the human race, how could they allow such a person to exist? Just like her adoptive father Wente, wasn't he also very strong and famous? But the fate of such a person is not good. She was a little worried about Tangmao, the forbidden area behind the Parthenon mountain. At this time, Killin had completely digested Zhu Yan's totem source power and input it into Tangmao's spiritual world. In the vast spiritual universe, one after another of the sea of stars and galaxies are looking forward to this energy being injected into them. In the choice between the thunder system and the fire system, Tangmao finally chose the thunder system. Now the power of the purple sky god thunder has been fully demonstrated. Even without the fusion of the elemental pet, the power of the thunder system is still his strongest destructive force. This is something that ice, fire, snow girl, and Yanji cannot compare. The totem source energy is huge, and it took 3 days to digest. Unfortunately, Tangmao still failed to break through the barrier of the superclass. Although he failed to cross the barrier of the superclass in one fell swoop, cracks have appeared in the barrier. With just one chance, I believe he will cross to a new level. And this level is naturally the forbidden spell. The thunder system failed to break through in one fell swoop, but the chaos and sound systems have received some blessings in the past few days, and they have expanded their territory, and the galaxy has become a sea of stars. It seems that, since breaking through the super level, compared with the slow progress of others, his cultivation has skyrocketed. In addition, he has 11 magic systems in the demon system, and he is now in the state of super level perfection. After breaking through the small perfection, he took out the previous energy sphere. Tangmao, how long do you want to torture me? Give me a quick death. As soon as the sphere was taken out, Sulu's angry roar was heard immediately. Although Tangmao did not touch him in the past few days, he left a ray of thunder, baptizing his soul every moment, and every second every day. This thunder did not make Sulu's soul fly away, but the pain every day was a very real feeling. He might not have thought that he could be treated like this after becoming a soul. I'm not in a hurry to kill you, shouldn't you be grateful? And, I think in your heart, this is what you have always wanted to do to me, right? Tangmao dragged the beads, and said with a mocking smile, I, Sulu, am the emperor of a continent after all. If you fall into my hands, I will give you a quick death, not like this. Although Sulu agreed with what Tangmao said, it was really too painful every day. How dare you flatter yourself? Tangmao felt a little funny when he heard it, and said contemptuously, Emperor, you don't deserve it, you are just an ant in my hand. I want you to die at 3 o'clock in the morning. Can you live until 5 o'clock? Sulu wanted to say something, but suddenly saw the shadow evil behind Tangmao appear. The moment he saw the shadow evil, Sulu had a bad premonition in his heart. Why don't you talk? Don't worry, you won't die so easily. The shadow evil will let you survive in the dark abyss. It will slowly eat away your strength and finally belong to me. Sulu's strength can be preserved after the body explodes, thanks to the Dark King. Speaking of which, the Dark King also had some ideas about Sulu's power, but before he could eat away at it, he was plucked by himself. He couldn't refine Sulu directly, and he didn't have that ability. But because of the Dark King, Shadow Evil could slowly extract his lifelong cultivation and give it to Tangmao. Looking at the smile on Tang Mao's face and the shadow evil who kept approaching, Sulu said a little madly, "Tang Mao, you can't do this. Give me a quick death. I'm the Emperor of Asia." Before Sulu had time to say more, he was forcibly dragged into the dark abyss by shadow evil. The arrogant Sulu's final fate was to linger for a year at most, and his power would be completely absorbed by Tang Mao. Of course, whether it is dark magic, elemental magic, or dimensional magic, it will be the most refined power. After Sulu processed it, he began to refine the sphere energy of the Dark King. This refining time passed quickly, and it took nearly a month for Tang Mao to integrate the dark energy of the Dark King, the dark energy of Shadow Evil, and his previous dark energy. As a result, the Shadow system reached the same level as the Thunder system in one fell swoop. And this is not his biggest gain. The biggest gain is that he actually got the blessing of darkness because of the special relationship of this dark energy. This dark exhortation did not enhance the magic other than white magic, but instead enhanced the power of the Thunder system. The God Seal Praise ceremony gave Tang Mao a 2.5-fold increase in value, and under the blessing of darkness, it actually increased by a full multiple. Although it sounds like only double the power, it doesn't feel much, but in fact, with this doubling of power, the power of all magic has increased by who knows how many times. It can be said that, even if it is just a primary thunder magic, the current explosive power is likely to reach the power of a high-level thunder magic. The most important thing is that, because of the god species, the three elements have become one body, not limited to depiction and release, but can be released by thought. In other words, his thunder is not only full of extreme explosive power, but also can be like a machine gun, convex shooting. Not to mention, that he now has a full 11 magic systems. Even if there is only one thunder system in the future, he can walk sideways among humans, even if it is a forbidden spell. What about it? In the past, it was necessary to depict magic, and the output was not fast enough, and it might not be as good as the forbidden spell. But now, speed and power coexist with the body, and the forbidden spell is no longer enough. In addition, Shadow Evil also advanced to the Pseudo-Emperor with the help of the power of the Dark King. After moving his tibia, Tang Mao studied his current realm. Thunder system, below the forbidden spell, above the super level, the top position. Shadow system, below the forbidden spell, above the super level, the top position. Ice system, super level perfection. Fire system, super level perfection. Space system, super level perfection. Wind, summoning, sound, light, chaos. Super level second level, first level. Chapter 797 Tang Mao, I will be responsible. Fei Lan, who had worked hard and shown loyalty this time, also shared some of the totem source power bestowed by the Killin. The descent of this totem source power restored its cultivation to the original strength of the holy totem. Just in terms of pets, Tang Mao now has 3 pseudo-emperor thugs, 1 shadow evil, 1 fairy lion, and 1 nine-tailed fox. Although the last one is not very willing to work hard, and may even act like a spoiled child, to let him do it himself, he is still a pseudo-emperor. Moreover, the peak combat power is the realm of the middle emperor. Apis and Changming Shinio are the supreme monarchs. Zhao Hei also got a mouthful of soup when he shared the power of darkness before, and this mouthful of soup also directly advanced him to the level of the great monarch. Whether it is the summoning plane or this world, Zhao Hei is now a hegemon. Among the 3 elemental pets, only Yang has to cross the threshold of the middle level. As for Zunu, she is restricted. Maybe he has to go to the Antarctic to break through this shackle. The other little Fengji was also suppressed, but it had just crossed over to the level of monarch, so this suppression was not very obvious. After thinking carefully, it seemed that there were quite a lot of places he wanted to go. Moreover, no matter where it was, it felt like death. Antarctica, the Sahara Desert, and the mysterious Kunlun Mountain. Tang Mao shook his head. It was better not to think about things that affected his mood. In fact, at this level, he no longer needed to fight desperately. But strength, such an illusory thing, fascinated him. After leaving the back mountain, Tang Mao originally wanted to see how Saga was doing. But then he thought about it. It was late, and he had been in that bad place for more than a month. More than a month. How much youth had been wasted. After leaving the place of cultivation, Tang Mao wanted to see how Saga was doing. Although he did not doubt Parthenon's healing technique, it was the damage caused by the Dark King after all, and he could not help but pay attention to it. But it was already late at night, and Tang Mao thought about it and decided to forget it. Immediately, he teleported to where Ashurua was. Short distance instant movement naturally wouldn't cause any exaggerated phenomena, so Tang Mao's arrival was almost silent. Even though it was late at night and pitch black, he knew where he was, because he had the shadow system and the relationship with this place. He also found the way home smoothly. What surprised him was that the road was not smooth today. In the morning, the angel, the saint and Tang Mao sat at a table. Ashurua and Shaejia, both women were powerful, but they didn't expect that they would become close sisters one day. They talked very well, but Ashurua really just wanted to be an ordinary friend with her, without any power or other friends. But now, everything is different. They carried guns together. The relationship is so damn close. What's the point of being ordinary friends? Tang Mao felt that this couldn't go on any longer, so she took the initiative to say, I didn't know at first, but then, the brakes broke. Upon hearing this, Shaejia glared at him. Listen, is this human language? Ashurua was also quite unhappy. There were more and more competitors, and now there was an angel. Shaejia gnashed her teeth, but she couldn't get angry, even though she was clearly angry. After all, Tang Mao was her savior no matter what. If it weren't for Tang Mao, I'll go back first. Let's just pretend that what happened yesterday never happened. Shaejia wasn't the kind of person who would go into a dead end. Since it had already happened, it had to be this way. However, before Shaejia took half a step, her soft little hand was grabbed by Tang Mao. Actually, I will be responsible. Seeing Shaejia turned around and glared at him, Tang Mao paused and said, this purple curly hair, coupled with a pair of purple eyes, really made it impossible for Tang Mao to pretend. The most important thing is that she is an angel. That is to say, the conditions do not allow it, otherwise he really wants to see the grace of angel wings. Moreover, after the incident with Bran's concubine, Tang Mao felt that, since something has happened, he should take on this responsibility. So, how could he allow Shaejia to leave like this? Let go. Shaejia was a little angry, and at this moment she just wanted to be quiet. You should let Shaejia calm down first. Ashurua looked at Sheijia's complicated expression and persuaded Tang Mao. She really didn't want to get involved, but this matter couldn't be blamed on Shaejia or Tang Mao. It seems that it can't be blamed. After all, it's actually her own fault. Hearing this, Tang Mao had to let go, but when Shaejia went out, he still said, whether you like it or not, I have a clear mind about what happened yesterday. Don't try to hide from me. No matter where you are, I will definitely find you. Shaejia paused, but didn't look back, and finally opened the door and left the house. She actually understood that Tang Mao's last words were just telling her that escaping was useless. Even in the holy city, he could find her. She knew that Tang Mao had this ability, so she knew that it would be impossible to leave like this, but she didn't have anything to say. In the end, Shaejia could only choose to turn around and leave. Chapter 798 Saint and Angel. You are amazing. After Shaejia left, Ashurua said with a smile, her beautiful eyes like a bright little fox. I also think I'm amazing. Sleeping with an angel and a saint at the same time. Tut tut tut. Tang Mao naturally understood what she was talking about, but he was not modest at all. Virtue, Ashurua said with disgust when she saw this. Tang Mao felt that the morning routine should be completed. But before he could make a move, Ashurua left the soft bed even faster. Tang Mao, don't you think you are a bit too much? Not only did you betray me in my territory, but you didn't keep me, and you still want to squeeze me? After avoiding Tang Mao, Ashurua glared and said. Tang Mao was speechless for a while. Ashurua snorted lightly. She didn't make a fuss before, not because she really broke the jar. She just didn't want to make a fuss with Tang Mao in front of Shaejia. But now that Shaejia has left, she is still spoiling Tang Mao? It's common for this dead man to push his luck. If she doesn't have some emotions, she might have to put a few sisters on her soft couch next time. Tang Mao looked at Ashiruaya, and after a moment of silence, he said, "You are really amazing for not admitting it." After pulling up your pants. It was she who followed him to pull Shajia into the venue last night. It was also her who turned her face and refused to admit it after the other person left today. Although she was happy, but she was not the one who suffered. On the contrary, she might be happier than herself. After all, she didn't need to do anything, she just had to enjoy it. Ashiruaya looked at his serious look, but she didn't expect that he would say this to her. Almost. She was broken. Holding back a smile, Ashiruaya still had no expression on her face, as if she was really angry. Tang Mao really couldn't figure out this woman's mind at all. Seeing her like this, he just thought she was really angry. He had to give in and said, "Although this is indeed my fault, I didn't expect Shajia to be here." It was rare to see Tang Mao in a weak position. Ashiruaya said, "You didn't know when you came. You were already at the door. Can you still admit your mistake?" "Okay, I admit that. When I walked in, I already knew that it wasn't you inside. But it's that time now," Tang Mao argued. Looking at Ashiruaya, it was like seeing Hidi at the beginning. But obviously, this girl is not a silly girl like Hidi. It's not easy to fool. Anyway, it's all my fault. Blame me for not being a human being. Tang Mao also took the blame. Anyway, it was not a human thing, and he had done it for a long time. Ashiruaya was still angry, with a puffy face, which was very cute. This ever-changing goddess is really pure and desirable. Even when she plays a cute little girl, she is still so attractive. He even missed the equipment that Ashiruaya prepared. But now is obviously not the right time. Tang Mao had to ask again, "Then what do you want to do to turn this around?" "Give me an identity," Ashiruaya said directly. How could he not know what an identity meant? Other things are easy to say, but this one is obviously not possible. If Tang Yu really agreed to Ashiruaya's words, he would probably not let him in the door in the future. You also know that I just made a big fuss in the Asian Magic Association. The magic associations of the other 4 continents will definitely regard me, a person with powerful power, as a thorn in their eyes and flesh. It's not good for you to have too much connection with me at this time, Tang Mao argued. Do you think I believe it? Ashiruaya rolled her eyes at Tang Mao. Although this is indeed related, does she care? She is a smart woman who has always known how to protect herself. Since she dares to ask for this identity, she is naturally confident that she will be foolproof. Don't worry, I don't want the certificate from your country. It's fine in Greece. Even if you and I get married here, it won't hinder you from your country. Although Ashiruaya seemed to be talking about a certificate and didn't seem to care much, Tang Mao couldn't help but see that she was still eager. Speaking of which, she was right. They had already crossed continents, so it wouldn't matter if they just got a certificate. I promise you, but not now. Tang Mao continued. Does a certificate also need to be in order? Ashiruaya looked at Tang Mao angrily. Although this woman was sometimes particularly liked by him, sometimes she really gave him a headache. Just like the round worm in his stomach, she knew everything he was thinking. It was very difficult to deal with. But when he saw Ashiruaya's eyes moisten, he changed his words and said, "Have you really thought it through? You know, this is not our country. If you are targeted by the Magic Association, I won't be able to know in time." Seeing Tang Mao's half-true and half-false worries, Ashiruaya chose to believe the former and nodded. "I've thought it through and never changed it." "Then let's go." Tang Mao shrugged and continued. The Saint of the Parthenon wanted to marry him, so Tang Mao had so many reasons to refuse. Although both of them had special identities, they still followed the proper procedures for getting the marriage certificate. When Ashiruaya received a certificate and returned to the hotel in Athens, she was quite happy. This was actually an unexpected gain for her. No matter what the reason was, Tang Mao was willing to give her this identity, which was enough to show that this man's feelings for her were real. You know, even Muningsu, who controlled the power that Tang Mao belonged to, could not get this thing. She was sure that, even if Muningsu knew about this, she would definitely show indifference. But when it was late at night and everyone was asleep, whether she really didn't care, only she knew. As a woman, she knew women very well. She believed that no one would not care, no matter who it was. Hubby, my legs are sore. Seeing Tang Mao preparing to practice meditation, Ashiruaya suddenly called out tenderly. As soon as the sound of the clip came out, Tang Mao did not feel any discomfort, but was inexplicably excited. The heart that was just about to stabilize the practice was instantly floating. Although it was just a title, he had never heard it before, so it was inevitable that he still had some special sense of accomplishment. Without saying anything, Tang Mao walked to her side and picked her up directly. Then I'll rub it for you. After carrying Ashiruaya to the bed, Tang Mao rubbed her very seriously. But for some reason, Tang Mao said he was rubbing her legs, but there was no feeling on her legs. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 799. Taking your wife to meet your lover? In recent days, Ashiruaya has fully demonstrated her delicate side. If she is not spoiled a little every day, she will roll around in bed. After 3 days, the two returned to the Parthenon. There was no way. While coaxing her, Tang Mao was still thinking about Shaka on the sacred mountain. He was thinking about the pot while eating in the bowl. Here, it was shown vividly. How could Ashiruaya not know what this dog was thinking? But she also enjoyed Tang Mao's doting side in the past few days, and finally she had to pretend that she didn't know. What would you do if Shaka insisted on not letting you take responsibility? After the two came to the place where Shaka was recuperating, Ashiruaya asked, I haven't thought about this. Tang Mao responded truthfully. He never thought that the woman he had slept with could have any relationship with others. Of course, based on Shaka's identity, it is estimated that there are not many people in the world who can be favored by her. Tang Mao is an exception. That's really unexpected. He's an archangel, maintaining order in the world. Although Ashiruaya admires Tang Mao's character, she still reminded him. So what? Tang Mao said indifferently. Speaking of which, he still likes this world. As long as you are strong enough, some game rules can be disobeyed. Of course, the premise of this disobedience is that you have to be strong enough. So strong that several top international forces can't do anything. Although he may not be able to do so now, no matter who it is, if they go against him, they still need to see if their bones are hard enough. After stirring up the Asian Magic Association, this courage has really doubled. The more powerful a person is, the more afraid of death he is. He is different. With the same name of the divine bird following him, he is not afraid of death at all. As long as he prepares enough fire spirit seeds, he is immortal. It's not unreasonable to dare to be so wild. Who in this world is not afraid of death? Tang Mao is also a man who cherishes his life, and even the degree to which he cherishes his life is no worse than those who stand at the top of power. Do you want to go in with me? It was obvious that Ashiruaya had no intention of going in together, but Tang Mao still asked, is it okay for you to take your wife to meet your lover? Ashiruaya asked back. Then see you later. Tang Mao knew it would be like this. After separating from Ashiruaya, he walked into the place where Shagia was recuperating. It seemed that, because of her status, even in the Parthenon, she was still arranged as a VIP residence. Tang Mao walked in, sensed it, and the person inside came out. Judging from her appearance, she should have recovered. Otherwise, why would she come out as soon as he entered the courtyard? After Shagia came out, she looked at Tang Mao with a complicated expression. But she still said, it was just a misunderstanding between us, and when you use that power, you need to shoulder my mission. Misunderstanding? Tang Mao felt a little sarcastic. If the first time was a misunderstanding, then what about the next one? Although she is an angel, she is still a human after all. And even gods cannot avoid the 7 emotions and 6 desires. She told herself that this was a misunderstanding. Can you believe it? Looking at Tang Mao coming, there was a trace of panic in Shajia's purple eyes. She had decided not to have any relationship with Tang Mao. However, when she saw him approaching, she softened involuntarily. He moved forward, and Shajia retreated, unconsciously leaning against the door. With no way to retreat, Shagia forced herself to be serious and said, "You, don't come over." I said, "I have my own use." Shagia still had something to say, but Tang Mao was not going to give her a chance to speak. The best way to deal with such a woman with emotional doubts is, of course, to be more direct. Nothing can't be solved in one night. If it can't be solved, then 2 nights. Originally, he just came to see her and didn't think about doing anything, but Shagia's purple eyes seemed to have their own attraction. Fortunately, Tang Mao also kept his word and promised Ashiruya to find her later. At 23:59 in the morning, he rushed back, but this time he was still a human being and didn't bring Shagia with him. It's not that he didn't have this idea, but the angel sister refused very strongly, as if she dared to take me there, I would not live, so Tang Mao had to give up in the end. But Shagia didn't know that this guy was just acting her. If Shagia took this with her, wouldn't the little fox turn the house upside down tonight? Oh, you are very punctual, it's not tomorrow yet. Seeing Tang Mao coming here tonight, she was still quite satisfied, but she didn't mind talking about it. "That's right, I said I would come to you later, and I came to comfort her," Tang Mao said, and was about to go forward and have a good exchange with Ashiruya, but before he could get close, he saw the little feet wrapped in black silk on his shoulders stepping over. Well, as soon as he saw this thing, he had the urge to tear it up. Although it is indeed shameful to waste, how can there be a waste of interest? Unfortunately, as soon as he stretched out his hand, the little foot retracted, and there was no intention of giving him the experience at all. "You." Before he could complain, Ashiruya said unhappily, "Go take a shower." Although he had just tasted the sweetness of his angel sister, he was still a little disappointed when he saw Ashiruya dressed as a bunny girl. If he wanted to negotiate a big order of several hundred million with her tonight, it would be a failure if he didn't go along with her. He had no choice but to quickly go to the bathroom. After a few minutes of simple washing and dispersing some special smells on his body, Tang Mao hurried out. But what made him unhappy was, this dead woman was no longer in the house. Ashiruya wanted to play hide and seek, but she didn't look at who she was playing with. His mental power had reached the top level, and his shadow system was also elusive. Did she have Akshitagarbha? With just a fleeting movement, he came to the little fox. "You are so naughty, but you know you will be beaten? How can you be so fast?" Ashiruya was also shocked. She really didn't expect Tang Mao to find her so quickly. You know, her dark concealment power is also very powerful. It's outrageous. As for what she said, it always sounded discriminatory. "Actually, I can last longer," Tang Mao explained. Shameless seeing the little fox who understood immediately, Tang Mao picked her up casually. "Little hoof, we just got married not long ago. You are affecting our relationship. So I decided to teach you some rules that wives in our country should follow tonight." After being picked up, she hooked Tang Mao's neck. "But I don't want to learn." "Don't want to learn how to hold you so tightly? Question mark. This woman who says one thing and means another. Tang Mao muttered a few words in his heart and then took her away from the place. Chapter 800 Return to Alpine Academy. Maybe it was because of the long-lasting relationship last night. Even Tang Mao was a little tired. When he woke up the next day, it was already noon. And when he got up and went out, he knew that Shagia had left. But when she left, she asked the maid of the Parthenon to tell him that she had her mission and she had to go to the holy city. In short, it was a lot of nonsense, but what she wanted to express was that she didn't blame Tang Mao for anything. She had been happy these days. This was a happiness she had never experienced, but as an angel of the holy city, she had no right to enjoy it. Since she had used this power, what she had to do was to take on her responsibilities and do what she should do. She naturally didn't want to be an angel, but the holy order was hard to disobey. She had to return to the holy city and face everything that happened next as the highest watcher in this world. Although Tang Mao told her that nothing would happen, even if she didn't obey anything. But Shagia still chose this path. The Sulu incident made her feel a lot. Without a complete system and an upright supervision, every magic association will give birth to Sulu. People cannot completely control their desires for expansion. Any powerful, influential, and ambitious counselor may become the next Sulu. She is willing to take the responsibility that comes with her own strength, which Tang Mao admires. People like him may not be able to do this in this life. Whether it is hard work or adventure, Tang Mao has always sought an unrestrained freedom. He is not the kind of person who meddles in other people's affairs. The Feng Xiaolong incident was definitely an accident. If it weren't for the fact that what he developed was of great help to the magicians, Tang Mao would not care about his life or death. To put it bluntly, he also witnessed the cruel struggle between the sea monster and the domestic military magician, so he came to take risks. Of course, the main point is that he has the same name as the bird. Otherwise, he still won't come. Shijia left, and Tang Mao naturally had to return home. Although Ashiruaya was reluctant, she also knew the current situation of China. If she didn't know that she would have no status in China, Ashiruaya would also like to accompany Tang Mao. But that place is not Greece after all, and it is not the Parthenon after all. As a saint, her status is far from others, but in front of Tang Yu and Muningsu, it is really nothing. Therefore, she would not do anything that would make her feel bored. After leaving Greece, Tang Mao tore out the space gate. He was not going to go back just like that. While he had time, he planned to go to the Alpine Academy. Speaking of which, he is a father now. In the Alpine Academy, today is still the same as usual with laughter and joy. The beautiful girls show their beautiful figures. Maybe because of their lack of desire, every student here has a special beauty. This is something that the girls in the outside world do not have. Even if the world is in chaos, it is always so peaceful and tranquil under the holy court. And today, when the girls were laughing and playing, suddenly, a gap appeared in the clear sky. This scene attracted the attention of many students. Dean Perry, Teacher Jailan, and several powerful professors and directors of Alpine Academy came out at the same time when they were notified by the students. Brandon, why did you come out when you were not staying in the apartment to protect the baby? Dean Perry looked at Brandon and asked. Although she is already a mother, she has not changed much from before. The only change is that her originally exquisite figure has become more prominent. Dean Perry, I'm also a member of Alpine Academy. How can I stay out of the school when something happens? Brandon said with a firm face. Alpine Academy, which does not pay much attention to external affairs, will naturally feel nervous about this special phenomenon. So, Brandon also came. When Dean Perry was about to say something, a figure walked out of the space crack. When they saw that it was a person who came out, several professors and directors were stunned. Dean Perry, Teacher Jailan and Brandon were all shocked. The person who came was naturally Tang Mao. When he came out, he saw more than a dozen aunt-level women gathered here, and he was also stunned. But he was not surprised when he experienced this kind of scene when he returned to China. Tang Mao? Teacher Jailan was the first to speak, calling out uncertainly. Long time no see, Teacher Jailan. Tang Mao responded, and then looked at Dean Perry and said, we are old acquaintances. Why do you welcome me so loudly? It's too formal. Dean Perry heard the voice, and was very upset. This scene, if it weren't for dealing with unknown factors, it would indeed be called a big scene. But at first they gathered here, just because they were afraid of this space crack. Because a female professor reminded her that this was a very strong space wormhole method, when she was about to send someone to check it out before. If the strength was not up to the forbidden spell, it would be very likely to suffer from the space twisting, and cause harm in front of it. But she didn't expect that the person who appeared from here was Tang Mao. Question mark? Could he be a forbidden spell? Not to mention, Dean Perry was stunned after such a visit, because she found that she could no longer see through Tang Mao's strength. Exclamation mark. The last time Tang Mao came, Dean Perry could still sense that, although Tang Mao's strength improved rapidly, his cultivation was not as high as his own. But who would have thought that in less than half a year, he had already surpassed himself? Have you crossed to that level? Dean Perry asked with a tangled face. Hearing Dean Perry's question, everyone in the air was confused. The so-called level, when it came out of Dean Perry's mouth, what did it mean? They all knew. I just entered it not long ago. Tang Mao said with a smile. Of course, he did not cross the forbidden spell, but even if he did not cross the forbidden spell, it would not affect his pretense. Moreover, if he admitted that it was a forbidden spell, I believe that the senior management of the Alpine Academy would find a way to treat Bran concubine and her son well. For the Alpine Academy, it is only good to have a relationship with a forbidden spell. Young people are formidable. Young people are formidable. Dean Perry had some complicated emotions and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Although she knew that with Tang Mao's strength, it was only a matter of time before he crossed this step. But she really didn't expect it to happen so quickly. She once thought that Bran Ki was good enough. Although she was not world famous, she had already reached the super level perfection in her 20s, which was already a natural advantage. And Tang Mao, he was also in his 20s, and even when he crossed the forbidden spell, he was not as old as Bran Ki when he reached the super level perfection, right? Dean Perry was silent, and it was unknown what he was thinking. Bran Ki was also shocked. This man who made her not know what emotion to use to face him had actually crossed the forbidden spell. What does this mean? If Tang Mao wants to take the child away, no one will stand on her side, and even the Holy Court can't stop it. That's right, Bran Ki didn't think about how awesome Tang Mao was. She was just worried that the baby she had been carrying for 10 months would be taken away by him. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.